Yo, let me tell you about the lore.
Alright, sup fellas, and welcome back to this bonus episode of Super Lore Boys. We all thought it was over for the year, and then we got hit with that empty jump super. My name is Rizwan, aka Dr. Pepper Guy, and joining us this time, we got my partner in crime, Megaman X, aka Rockman X, aka White Castle Guy, aka Anthony. You can now speak, my man. What up?
What's going on, bro? How you
What's
doing,
up?
man?
Hey, man. Just doing my thing, hanging out. Finally got you on here.
Yeah, man. Truly honored to be on here, man. I was definitely looking forward towards this, so pretty excited about it. Got goosebumps.
R.L. Stein boys.
Yo, R.L. Stein boys, bro.
Beware of the scare. Yo, I used to read those books all the time.
Man, the book, either the books or the episodes. I know the books was definitely better, but still. Oh my god, man. This episodes be on some weird stuff at times. It was really good.
I felt like the episodes were too short. Like I wanted to be spooked out more. Yeah, but the books were fire.
Absolutely, man.
And for anyone who thought that we were going to talk about ST, nah, this is a book review club right now. So
yeah, we're part of this illustrious book club that you didn't know about, man. We read about everything.
Yeah, what about the embarrassing bears, though?
Yo, oh my, yo, the embarrassing bears, bro.
That's my boys.
Yo, it's my boys, man.
All right, let's get into it. So your name is Anthony, right? We've known each other for a little bit now, and you've been playing ST for 8 years. So you started in around 2012, basically. Again, one of those people who started at the end of the world.
Yeah.
And originally from Brooklyn, but now New Jersey. So how did you start ST?
So I would say how I started originally. I started on GGPO at first, and I was introduced to GGPO through a friend of mine who kind of moved towards like somewhere West Coast, not too sure where really. So he was telling me about GGPO. He was like, "Dude, you should try this out, man. They got like a whole bunch of games that's there that, you know, everybody play P2P and everything like that." So I'm like, oh, so there's all some Kalira stuff. I'm like, I remember Kalira because back then I used to play, you know, on the God server. I forgot what his name is. It's God.
Oh, God Weapon.
The God Weapon server. Because I usually play in that server, either playing like Sonic 2 Racing or Mortal Kombat 2 and everything. So originally he told me about like, bro, you should just try Super Turbo. I'm like, Super Turbo? I'm like, what's that? So then he kind of just like showed me what it was. I'm like, oh, this reminds me of New Challengers, because that's technically the first Street Fighter I've ever played. So when he told me about that, I was like, okay, yeah, I could give this a try and everything like that. So when I joined up and everything, originally I was trying to think of a name, and I said, all right, maybe I should just go with a name that, you know, respectively, that as a kid, I always loved watching the series at the time. So I said Megaman. So I'm like, okay. I tried out Megaman. The name was taken. So I'm like, okay, what's another one? Oh yeah, Megaman X. Because there was an episode of the 1994 cartoon Megaman that had the future Megaman there. He was named as Megaman X because he became the leader of the Maverick Hunters at the time. And I said, all right, let me try that. Well, that didn't work either. So I just said, all right, I'll just put a number at the end of it. But fast forwarding, when I joined it, it was funny. Originally, I played on keyboard, and then transitioned
Keyboard
to
warriors.
Yeah, I played on keyboard. The first character that I played was Ken, and I played on keyboard for about like a year or so. Then transitioned to pad. It was kind of more or less the same, and then afterwards, I'm like, all right. I heard people was talking about an arcade stick, so I was like, oh yeah, I know about this arcade stick. It's similar to the cabs that I usually go to the laundromat and play, like, you know, King of Fighters or Metal Slug, Puzzle Bobble, and everything. So I'm like, all right, I just got to go and purchase one. So afterwards, when I purchased one, I brought it home with me, and during that time with the GGPO era and everything like that, at the same time there was Super Cage that was made by Damdai, so kind of was bouncing back and forth between the two, and I heard a lot about Damdai before, and I'm like, yeah, I heard this dude is pretty famous. I'm like, the only time that I researched his name is when he had that one set against Tokido, where he used
Old
Ken, and he beat him like it was like 5-0, 5-1, something like that.
Yeah, so, I think that was the Caesar's Beatings High Rollers tournament, probably.
Yeah. So when I played through there, I'm like, I played through between Supercade and GGPO. I'm like, the names that I know today, they were all there. It had like Fromo, it had DGV, it had at the time had Mars Gotti, who was very active during that time back then, and it had Jollies. It had I mean, the name goes on. It was like during that time, it was a bunch of killers on GGPO at the time. So. But it was I to this day I'm thankful that I had somebody to tell me about GGPO at the time, or else I wouldn't even known about it, to be honest with you.
I think SC would have caught up to you one way or another, and a lot of people did start online. Like I also started online, and then when I went offline, I didn't turn back for a long time. I didn't like really play online, and now it's it's all we got. But I think we'll go over your progression as a player over those 8 years. But just a little bit of backstory through that player card of yours. So originally from Brooklyn, that's where I'm originally from too. Coney Island boys. Well, Coney Island Hospital at least. Nice. But now you're up in New Jersey. Which do you prefer?
Oh, by far it's still Brooklyn. Brooklyn will always be my home. It will always be my home. I mean, there's been a lot. I went through a lot during those, during my younger years, until when I moved from Brooklyn until now. Always remember, Brooklyn always has the best pizzas, dollar pizzas. So,
I was more of a DeForest kind of guy. I don't know if you know DeForest on JN15.
Oh yeah, I know about that spot.
Yeah, we gotta go there. Like, I don't know if they're open anymore with the current situation, but yeah, when I drop by NY, we gotta go there. I need some DeForest in my life.
Oh man, I'm in there. We in there, bro.
Alright, cool. And then your preferred fighting game, or your game genre is fighting games, action, adventure, FPS. I consider you a gamer because you play a bunch of different games, right? Not just Street Fighter.
Yeah, I play a lot. I play a lot of games, really. Usually, most of them is either I dabble or I definitely play it. Like, besides Street Fighter, there's definitely Mortal Kombat I play. There is some. There's definitely some King of Fighters that's kind of mixed in there that I play sometimes. And in terms of action adventure, usually I'm the type of guy I really like. My favorite game of all time for me would be Sonic Adventure 2, only because that game, the soundtrack of that game hits really hard. And I mean, I tell you, during that time, when I first bought it, I think at the time there was the store that I went to was EB Games, at the time, and
Yo,
they had
EB Games, King's Highway boys. I don't know if you went to that one, but
oh, that was the one that I went to.
King's Highway boys. Yeah, I used to go there all the time.
Yo, yeah, man, because they had the Dreamcast set up right at the front of the store.
Yeah.
And then when I went there, I was gonna buy Sonic Adventure 2. So the guy who was originally there, when that store, that store was awesome, by the way. He had he had Sonic Adventure 2, and he had like the apparently he had some hookup that had the soundtrack towards it. So I'm like, oh man, I had to buy that. And during that time, it was like, I think it collectively was $50 that I spent total for it. So
Yep.
it was totally worth it. So
yeah, even back then, games were expensive, man. $50, $40 for a game. Like I remember getting a Lunar from there, Lunar 2, Eternal Blue or whatever.
Yeah,
and that thing came with a book. It came with a medal. Like it came with all this extra stuff, and I think it was like $80. Like I don't care. I was hardcore into that.
Yeah, man.
But King's Highway was the spot. They had Luna Pizza over there. They had that movie theater. They had this comic book shop where you used to get my Pokemon cards.
Oh yeah, dude, that's where I got my Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh cards at the time.
Shadow Comics. Shadow.
It was Shadow something. I know what you're talking about. Yeah, that was my store, bro. And it was a place to go there, and folks had a lot of. There was like a lot of meetups there as well, especially those who like into comics and everything. Yeah, there was Kings Highway was definitely the spot. It was between that and what was the other location of EB Games? The one that's at Fulton Mall, if you remember that one.
Yeah, I remember Fulton. I didn't go. I would only go to Fulton for my Jordans. Because it had the Indian dudes that would have the Jordans like on release date.
Oh yeah, those stores, man.
And they're always named Mike. All their names were Mike.
It was either Mike. You're right. It was either Mike. It was just Mike. Mike.
It was just Mike.
Mike,
bro,
you got the 12
I know your name's not Mike, but yeah. So I would go to Fulton for that, and obviously they had like all other, like they had was it Vim or some shit or
Vim. There was Vim. There was Foot Locker. At the time they had Woolworth.
Did they have a Cookies there or a Conway or one of those?
They did, yeah.
Fulton.
They did,
oh, man.
So that Conway had 2 floors. So
yeah, that's pretty legit. Man, it's crazy actually that we're both from Brooklyn, but I don't think we met until way into basically when ST is how we met, right? But we probably crossed paths like hell of times.
Yeah, plenty of times. I felt like we did. And it's so crazy. Like I'm like, man, we basically been nearly the same spots that never really met each other. That's crazy.
Yeah, it'd be like that. But then ST, man, ST's the thing that connects all of us together. So
yeah. Oh man.
All right, and then so blood type A-. Not sure if you had to look that up. I don't know mine, so I'm just gonna still keep that going until I don't know. I have to look it up. All right, and then your likes are annoying damn die. That's pretty easy to do though.
Oh no! There's levels of how to annoy damn die. See,
what's your tier list? Go ahead.
So it is the standard, like bothering him and everything like that, and then there's the pestering him to do something, right? And then there's how I do it in terms of how I like to annoy damn die is I like to annoy him in terms of saying false things. And then he'll curse me. Out about it. Either that, or I agree. He'd be like, "Ed, stop agreeing every time." And I'm like, "But it's true." I'm like, "I agree with you saying." Yeah, but it's annoying. Stop that. I'm like, "Okay, I agree." And then he'll get on my case about that. And then, oh man, between that, I'm like, when I annoy him. I feel like our friendship has gone stronger over the years with that. That's how I felt with that.
Yeah, especially because you agree with everything. I know he doesn't like that. That's
Oh
just
yeah,
funny.
he hates that.
Then you got Caribbean. I was gonna say Caribbean food.
Oh yeah, man. So originally, my family is from Guyana, so that's South America, right? So we technically not sure how we're labeled Caribbean. That's some backstory, Christopher Columbus type of thing. But I mean, originally we eat a lot of Caribbean food. So in terms of like curry goat, curry chicken, oxtail, peas and rice, pigtail, peas and rice. Oh man, there's like a smorgasbord full of stuff though. So usually a lot of Caribbean food I usually eat. In terms of tournaments, when I usually go to tournaments, that's usually the first thing I actually scope out for. Is there like
Wow.
a Caribbean cuisine somewhere around here? And when there's no, then I just default to Chinese food and just call it a day.
Well, you know me. I think even when we were at Canada Cup, I always look for a French toast spot. Like if it's in the morning, I'm like, yo, where's the best French toast around here? Like I gotta eat that everywhere I go.
Word.
French toast. French toast is where it's at.
Yeah,
and
man.
then hanging out at Xbox. So
Yeah.
you're still playing on your Xbox?
Oh yeah, that has never left my side. So it's here. I'm a big Xbox guy. So yeah, I mean that's basically it. And hanging out. I mean standard hanging out. Usually I like hanging out with you guys because it's pretty fun anyway. And I mean we hang out like for hours and hours and everything like that. Go out to eat and everything like that. So it's pretty cool, hanging out and everything like that.
Yeah, hopefully we'll get to do that when I come through and visit. Like,
Absolutely.
actually in a week, I guess, from now. So, yeah, we're going to have that sesh if it's safe.
Yeah, absolutely, bro.
And your dislikes are, it looks like Zoolander. Oh, wait, no, it says people with no common sense. My bad.
Pretty close.
That was a typo. Yo. I don't got my reading glasses on now.
Oh man, you're pretty close. I mean, I mean, there's people. I'm telling you, everybody can feel this, man. There's people who just don't have it for some reason, and they just want to agree with you. They're just trying to fight with you in something that's so simple. I mean, common sense tells you to do something. Tells you to do this, but you want to do something completely different. But I mean, no really much explanation of that except Zoolander. But yeah.
Yeah, because for me, like I only really get tilted on simple stuff. If someone's like trolling or just being an asshole, I don't really care. But it's simple things that get me really triggered. And sometimes you might see it, you're like, damn, like that bothered you.
I know, right?
Same thing, like no common sense. That it's frustrating.
Exactly. I hate that.
But anyhow, so you briefly went into your like starting for fighting games online, playing on GGPO, Kylera, Supercade, etc. Started from keyboard, going on to pad, and then stick. So that's what I'm most interested in, is the transition from pad to stick and starting to take it seriously, and then also when you ended up picking Zangief. So if you can start with that portion of the story.
Okay, so when I went from pad to stick, at that time, the friend of mine who he went West Coast, he was telling me like, bro, originally he was like, bro, everybody that, there's like people who goes to tournaments and everything like that. And I'm like, I've heard about these tournaments and I never get to see one and everything like that. So he's like, yeah, but in order for you to do so, it's much better you play more on stick, only because you get more of a better inputs than pad and everything like that. So I'm like, okay, well, let me go ahead and go buy one. So at the time, it was me, a friend, and he actually introduced me to people like the Ultimizer and his best friend, Glitch, AG Glitch. And during that time, that was like when, Street Fighter 4 was out and everything like that.
Yeah, we remember that, Rufus.
Yeah.
That's Glitch, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
That's Glitch, man. So usually Glitch and Ultimizer, we pretty much kicked it off pretty well, where we all introduced to each other. During that time, before I really took, ST seriously, I used to play like a lot of Street Fighter 4 at the time, and Glitch would have like these house sessions, and he told me in terms of the stick, he told me to go to like Video Games New York. That's where I bought my first stick from. And during that time, the first stick that I ever bought was the Marn stick. So that stick is the if you remember, is the white with the red that has like the Japanese insignia on it and everything. At the time, Marn was sponsored by Kwamba. So that's the stick that I bought. That was my very first stick. So since then, I've been practicing on stick. Well, I played Street Fighter 4, and I was practicing on stick with that game. And then going forward towards that, he was telling me about there was a spot that was called 8-Bit Video Games and Up. That was ran by Chris Fire Scott. His nickname is Fire. He was like one of the OGs that was running the store there, and there's people that goes there for like sessions for like meetups and everything like that. And at the time, that's when I potentially I met my all my closest friends that was there. Like one of them being like Reginald G, the other one was like my other best friend, call him my wingman, Brandon, and then there's Jonathan Lane, Joe. I met all those folks through there, and since then, I played a lot there, and then Glitch told me about Next Level, and I'm like, I heard about Next Level. I'm like, isn't that like kind of the because at the time they was talking about Chinatown Fair. And I've only been to Chinatown Fair maybe twice in my lifetime, really. And
wow.
Yeah, because at the time I was like, I've been there twice, only because the first time I discovered it by accident, and the second time I've been there, it was more of a birthday party that I was going towards there. So there was an ST cab that was there, and I was playing it there. So, and I was like, man, this game is pretty cool. I started to fall in love with it and everything like that. I'm like, I played it on GGP. I said to myself, I played it on GGPL, and I'm like, but playing it offline is completely different. So I'm like, it feels more fluid, and there's no frame skips and no burr and all that kind of stuff. So I just said, he told me about Next Level had like these arcade cabs there, and at the time they had like these Astros that was there. So I said, okay. I went there once. I went there for the first time. I was playing there. The first person who I played on those cabs was actually Ben Fong, and
shout outs to Ben.
Yeah. Shout outs to Ben, Mr. Fix It Retro, and he introduced me to Ben, and I played Ben a couple of times on there, and I was playing Ken, and then at the time, Ultimizer, he came through. Ultimizer is like, bro, what? He's like, man, I don't feel like you're a Ken. He's like, I don't feel like you're a Masters guy. He's like, I feel like you're like this guy. I'm like looking at him. I'm like, who? I'm like, Zangief. I'm like, why Zangief? I'm like, dude, you're like kind of built like him. Because at the time I was kind of like, hitting the gym a lot and everything like that. So he's like, yeah, you kind of like built like him. Why not just use him? I'm like, okay. I gave him a try and everything like that. And I'm like, okay, kind of got the gist of how he is. I'm like, oh, you press these 3 buttons, you do a spinning lariat. I'm like, oh, he doesn't have a fireball, but he have like this green hand that just goes mad quick. And I'm like, he got this oppressive look. I'm like, all right, I can just stick with him and everything. So, fast forwarding from then on, um, I met Josh inadvertently online, actually, through GDPO.
Because
And
he used to be an online warrior, but now he won't even touch online.
yeah. It was weird. Like, he was that dude. He was good. Like, he was really good, and he was telling me, yeah. He like, we kind of clicked off. He's like, hey, where you from? We're like, oh, I'm from New York. He's like, oh, really? He's like, yeah. I'm like, yeah. You should. He's like, you should come by next level. Sometimes we have some ST meetup with the guys from New York. I'm like, okay. I'm like, that sounds pretty cool. And when the first day that I went there, I met between Josh. I met Zoolander, and that day I met this dude named Jose Hernandez, who was kind of like that. He's like one of those people that kind of dabble in a lot of games. And then there was Chris Doyle. I do not think you were there that day. I don't know. I don't think you were there at that time.
I didn't go to Next Level a lot. I think that was around the time where I just didn't really play the game at all.
Right.
And I also didn't know that they were doing those tournaments, like 2-0 tournaments. So I entered way later in those, and that's when I started going to Next Level more regularly.
Yeah. That was like, it's funny because that was like the first time, like, I really just kind of went there. And I kind of afterwards went there a couple of times, only because whenever they had like their sessions or so, they would say, oh, we're having this sessions and everything like that. And I'm like, okay, I come there and I'm like learning and everything like that. And I'm kind of learning more upon how it is. And at that time, I met Zoo, Miss Chris, there was Jose. I think Mars was there. I don't think so. I don't think Mars was there. I think it was there was other people there. Stiff Peter was there also. Pete Talley, that was his name, I think. So
Diando,
yes, Diando was there.
Mark, that guy Mark R.
Yeah, Mark Robeson. Yeah,
he was.
Mark
Duke.
Robeson was there. Duke was there. Yeah, it was a lot of people at the time. A lot of people. And I was like, man, I heard about all these people. And then I remember a conversation I overheard in regards of people was like, yo, man, there was this beast carry that came here, and they was talking about green tea. And I'm like, man, I heard about green tea because he did have a YouTube at the time, and one of his videos that it's ironically I showed him like 2 months ago was a video that he had with Duke in regards of their trip to Chinatown Fair. And afterwards it was like kind of like reminiscent about some stuff though, but during that time, but yeah, man, like during that time, it's just that it was pretty fun. It was pretty fun that I met everybody, and the only confused part that when I was there, I remember Josh brought out this TV that he still have, by the way, and he was like, I looking at him, I'm like, dude, why are you bringing out a TV? He's like, oh, you don't play on a LCD, you have to play it on an original screen that has no lag. But I'm like,
come on, bro, you never played Melee before? Come on, bro.
Dude, I was more of an LCD future type of guy. I was like more of the go along with the boat type of guy. I'm like, oh well, hey, they got these screens here. Okay, these screens look pretty nice. These 24-inch Asus screens look pretty cool. So we were all good. But then I'm like, oh, he's like, yeah, you don't play on that. It has lag. This doesn't have lag. I'm like, oh, okay. And then at the time, that was the first time I saw like a super gun setup, and I'm looking at it, I'm like, man, what is this contraption here? I'm like, this looks like a console, but it's really not a console.
Being exposed to all that for the first time, like even for me, when I started going to these sessions and stuff, I'm like, man, these are like all completely different people. I don't know much about them, but we happen to like this game. And then, yeah, there's, all this weird equipment, and one person is like the master of setting this up, and another person does this. I'm like, man, how does something like this get even synchronized? Like,
yeah,
like I don't get it.
Yeah, I didn't get it either. I'm just looking at it. I'm like,
It just felt
man.
out of place.
Yeah, I'm like, bro, you think you would know things, I'm like, I thought, man, I was a master of hooking up my Sega or my Nintendo or my Dreamcast to the TV without no cables lying around. But looking at this, I'm like, bro, this is some next level stuff right here.
and at next level too, by the way.
Exactly, at next level.
So that got you into like, playing more casually, learning more about the game. Do you remember your first tournament?
Yeah, my first tournament was actually Too Old, Too Furious. I think that was Veterans Day. My very first tournament. That was at 2013. And that time I signed up. That's when I first met Min. That was the very first time I met him there. And he was the one who was running signups, him and Henry.
Yeah.
And that was my very first tournament. I had a friend of mine who was with me, Brandon. He was with me. The funniest thing was his very first match was against Mars Gotti. That's the funny thing about that. And I watched him play, and how he practiced was kind of funny because me and my friend Brandon, he was like, we practiced on GTPO at the time, and we was like, all right, we do this, we do that. I told him, yeah, we're not gonna. I think in my mind, I'm like, yeah, I'm not really gonna go over to. I'm gonna go to do my best, but mainly what I want to do more, I'm like, I want to do more networking in terms of it, because I'm like, something like this, I was highly intrigued in terms of meeting people that really took this game to a higher plane, like a next level in terms of how they play and what's their mindset and everything like that. And I'm like to myself, I'm like, all right, this is like my very first tournament. So I said, I'm not here to gonna impress anybody or so, but I'm more like I just have like a lot of questions and questions in terms of how this game work, what's the mechanics and everything like that. So along the line, met the same people who I met at the session that time, like Zoo, Tech Monkey, Diando, Mark R, Stiff Peter, Pete Talley. There's Josh, Mars was there, Crossed, Jollies was there as well. So it was definitely a heavy tournament during that time. So I mean, I went 0-2, but I had a lot of fun because I think my first match, it was definitely on stream. I faced my first L was towards Diando. It was Zangief versus Guile he was using at the time.
Wow, what a counterpicker. I'm pretty sure he means Dictator, but
yeah. he picked Guile, and I almost won, and I was kind of just like upset at myself, but I was kind of like really happy because I'm like, man, I was nervous because I'm like, I was told to play on the cab setup that was hooked to a stream, and I'm like, oh man, I'm like, wait, I'm doing a live? And they were like, yeah. I'm like, oh damn. I'm like,
my man asked a Big Mac question real quick. He's like, he saw the cab. He's like, is this live or a repeat?
Yeah. I know, bro. I'm like, I was nervous. I was like nervous as shit. But then, when I sat down and I played, I was like kind of relaxed. And then I'm like, man, okay, this is pretty fun. This is real fun. I mean, I took my L like a champ, but it was all good. But I had a lot of fun, and I met during that time. That's when originally I first talked with Mars, and it's kind of strange, you know. Me, it's like when I talk with Mars, it's like, man, it's like personality is almost the same, but I heard about Mars being like he was like literally the best Guile player in the U.S. He was like on his way up to be the best Guile player in the U.S. at that time, and he was like, you know, the first thing we talked about was wrestling. That's the very first thing about it.
Yeah, he's a hardcore wrestling fan.
Yeah, like, you know, the funny thing is, to this day, me and him really talk about like a lot of wrestling between myself and currently Reno. Like, we all talk about like wrestling a lot, and you know, we pretty much bonded a lot during that time about it. Like, you know, we just like talked a lot, and he introduced me to Cross, to Jollies at the time, and but yeah, and I'm like, I remember, I know, then I spoke with Zoolander, and you know, he's an interesting guy. That's all I can say, for say the least. And because the very first thing he was like, when he saw me, he was like, oh. He's like, oh man, it must be another. He's like, oh, another black guy in the scene. I'm like,
What?
looking at him, I'm like, yeah, that's what he said. I'm like, another black guy in the scene. I'm like, what?
That's why he got bitch slapped at one Evo. I think you know that story, right?
I do know that story. So I do know that story. See, the thing, oh my god, thing with Zoo, I like I said, not to. Oh, I'm gonna veer off the story a bit. I love Zoo, but at times that man's mouth be getting him in trouble sometimes. And
no filter.
None whatsoever. He's like, damn, he's like, when he saw me, oh man, a big, strong black guy in the scene. Oh, we don't even have one of those. I'm looking at him, I'm like, what?
Typical Zoo, man.
I'm like, Jesus, bro. I'm like, you can't talk. You can try to have a normal conversation with them, but you can't have a normal conversation with them. So there's no way, though.
No,
but
we all still love Zoo. It is dope because like you said, the scene has a lot of characters. Like, I'm a character, you're a character, Zoo's a character, but at least we don't have any like real negative shit in the ST scene. Like, everyone's cool, and I think that's dope. Like, we all know each other, and it's all good. Even if we clown on people a lot, maybe Zoo gets most of the clowning, but honestly, yo, Zoo, you do that to yourself. Like,
it's true. It's true. It's like with Zoo, it's like either he's purposely trying to make us clown on him, or he's just like acting himself. Either way, it's very hard to tell. That's the funny thing about that. And, you know, but like I said, I love Zoo. He's definitely one of my favorites in the scene, though. He really is. Like, with him, usually I would say we built up this interesting rivalry, even though it's kind of weird. I think he's more of like, he's like the Mr. Politically Incorrect type of guy, but when he's trying to be correct, my man goes on this like 1 hour tirade in regards of why he is correct. So, and then you just kind of look at him and be like, man, what do you be talking about sometimes?
Hey man, just to summarize it at one point, and I think we told it in Damn Nice episode, my man Zoo had all of us looking for his phone for an hour when we were at Mike's crib, and Mike's house had like 5 head-to-head setups, so we're chilling, playing ST, you know, Dr. Pepper's in hand, all that good stuff, and now everyone has to stop playing to look for his phone for an hour, and it turns out it was in his pocket the whole time.
Yeah, this guy. That's typical Zoo.
That's Zoolander in a nutshell. But anyway, all right. So
it really is.
So you did your first tournament, went 0-2, took it like a champ. When did you decide, all right, screw it, I'm going to start entering more tournaments? Because there's going to be a couple of videos we watch in a bit where, you know, yeah, you did some traveling around. But what made you really decide, ST's the game? I'm picking Zangief. I like this blue joint. Like, what? How did you commit to this game?
So pretty much after that first tournament, I really sat down and I thought about it. I'm like, this game. I just said, ST. It feels right, considering that, originally I started with Street Fighter 4, but then ST, it had like this very fundamental system, even though ST has its own BS in it, but it had like this fundamental system that I'm like, man, like this game, it just makes you think proper in terms of how you want to approach things. And then I said to myself, okay, I really got to start entering more. And then I'm like, now that I sort of networked some more in terms of meeting more people in the scene and everything like that, now there was like telling me, yeah, there's a bunch of tournaments that goes on in terms of having this game. I was told about Summer Jam, I was told about NEC, and I was told about Summer Jam, NEC, there was TFC, there was at the time they had Canada Cup, there's EVO, which is like the biggest tournament, which is like the biggest North American tournament there is. And I'm like, man, I have to say, yeah, you know what? Maybe it's time I just started just like improving myself and start traveling more. I'm like, yeah, I like to see more of the states that I haven't really been to like in a while. I'm like, the only state that I've ever traveled towards ever really during that time was just Florida, and that's pretty much about it. Or Connecticut, but Connecticut's like right there. So
yeah, right next door, basically.
Yeah, it's like right there. And then there's Jersey. So Jersey, yeah, obviously it was there as well. But I'm like, I like to travel to see some more. And then, at the time I went to Philly. And that was at the time I went to Philly. Then, went to North Carolina for TFC. Went to Evo one time. Went to, I went to Spring Series for the first time as well. Canada Cup twice. And I'm like, man, I'm happy that I made that decision, really. And, I keep telling myself in terms of encouraging myself, it's like I use this game as a footstool in terms of developing my personality, because it's like, fundamentally, I have to kind of shape myself in terms of, yeah, I'm like, what am I gonna get? What am I getting out of this game? Like, what am I getting out of ST? And I'm like, I got out. I made a lot of friends. I kind of improved myself in the game, and then as an individual as well. And then, I'm like, I'm happy I really made that decision, to be honest with you. So, I've met people across the states in terms of who I never thought I'd dream in terms of meeting, you know what I'm saying? And then I was like, I'm real humbled that I got to meet a lot of folks, like Lord Jimmy Bones. He was like, technically, between me and him, we had a lot of fights, a lot of shit talking on GGPO between us two. And George Jimmy Bones, that arch villain, Jiggly Norris, like I said, Mars, Jollies, Crossed. Then there was during the time until he was wonderful online. There was Josh, like I said,
Mr. Wonderful,
Mr. Wonderful, yeah. And then you had Josh, and then there's Eugene, there's Tanya, there's David, Atari, and Unessential. It's a lot of folks, man. Even Fromo. I mean, I never thought I'm not gonna lie, that first year at Spring Series. That's actually my first time seeing him up close. That was the funny thing, and he said the same thing too. That was the crazy thing about it. So it is just that we've talked a lot. We've definitely talked a lot through GGPO, me and Fromo, and then the time that we finally met each other. I'm like, man, he's like, the first thing he's like, he came up to me, he shook my hand, he's like, you got a lot of hair, and I'm like, you got a lot of hair. And he's like, yeah. We both got a lot of hair. it was incredible. It was a great feeling though. But
yeah, because tournaments are like conventions. So I imagine people have other hobbies like stamp collecting. You know, they'll go to tournaments and meet up, and it's like, oh shit, yo, you got that 1917 stamp with the blah blah blah, and it's it's the same thing when we go to tournaments because it's a convention, and we're all like discussing our hobby and stuff like that, and finding those other things we have in common. So absolutely.
But I can tell you this for sure, like in terms of just taking it seriously, that first tournament, that first 2-World really just opened my eyes, and I'm like, man, there's so much out there. There's so much opportunities out there to kind of just like, you get to meet people, and people can just show you the ropes in terms of, how things are being ran and what kind of system they use for tournaments and everything. So it's like, man, it's like, okay, along the way I'm learning, and along the way I'm like, yeah, I get to see new places that I've never been to. So I just said, this is a great opportunity for me to just be around some people, and I'm like, man, this is great. So thanks for that one tournament.
Yeah, because first off, shout out to Min, love you, Min. But tournaments aren't only about like winning. Obviously, you want to be the victor, and it feels good. But more so, it is about that like networking, and to really level up. You learn more at a tournament than you do watching like YouTube videos. I mean, you can learn a lot from YouTube videos, but there's something different about watching matches live. Like somehow your brain just picks up on more things. Like even in online tournaments, so those tournaments that we've streamed and stuff, like you learn a lot more just being like immersed in it versus if you're watching a VOD. And I think that's something special that tournaments have. So for anyone who hasn't, who wanted to and they didn't get a chance, maybe at some point when, things are opening up, I would highly recommend go to those like local tournaments and like see it for yourself. It's way different from, just like thinking, oh yeah, I got to go to a tournament and win or go to a tournament and lose. It's a lot more than that.
Absolutely. And like I said, you will never know. Like when you really go to one, it's like you'll definitely meet your best friend, or in this case, my partner in crime here. So it's I tell you, it's like it's kind of funny, Yeah, I mean, I met you through Josh. That's the funny thing about it. So it's like I've never thought of like, man, we've gotten to know each other, got closer and everything, and then next thing you know, we're like this ST dynamic duo at this point.
Well, 2020 was a very weird year, unpredictable.
Yeah,
never know what's gonna happen next. But I mean, at least there was some good that came out of it. We got to work together on a bunch of stuff. But man, I remember playing you at Next Level, and I think maybe me, Damda, a couple other people kept trying to tell you, like, yo, stop using crouching medium punch SPD. That shit's not real. I get so tilted. Like, why are you doing that shit, bro? You know what I'm talking about.
I do. Okay, I could tell you. Here's the funny thing. I can tell you exactly who I got that from, right? I tell you exactly who I got that from. I got that from. So, I remember one time. I was told, look at this. They was like, if you want to learn somebody, learn from TMF, right? I'm like, okay. I saw this geek. I saw him. I'm like, yo, this guy's real. This guy's mad good. And then when there are times that this man used crouch medium punch SPD. I'm like, oh, okay, that's just kind of sick. So I said to myself, I said, yo, let me start using that. And then when I hit it before, I'm like, oh, yo, it actually works. I just said, okay, I was like, okay, from now on, this is gonna be my setup from now on. That's what I kept saying to myself. This is gonna be my setup. I know, and you know that's the one thing about it. I'm like, yeah, I know you guys were telling me to stop doing that because it's not real, and I'm like, yeah, you know, I still did it anyway.
Yeah, you gotta fight the urge, bro. That shit's not real.
Yeah, I did. I was. Oh my god, I was really fighting the urge. I mean, now I don't do it anymore. I really don't. I don't do it no more because it's not real. It was definitely a gimmick. So it's like I stopped doing it, and I'm like, yeah, no more of that, man. But I gotta say, like, at that time, that was the first time that I actually looked at not like look at a YouTube video, like you look at a YouTube video in terms of if I want to learn my character more, who's like the top player that I can look at in terms of that character. So when they said TMF, I'm like, okay. I look at TMF and I'm like, okay, man, I'm like, yo, he has like a bunch of videos on YouTube. I'm like, man, this man's been through the damn ringer in terms of, playing this character. Like, he's been through all these matchups, and majority of them is either he wins, and there's some of them that he loses. But it's still like a good stepping stone in terms of watching. In terms of who you want to watch and base your play style, but place your style next to with him. And I'm like, at the time I'm just like, yeah, now that's pretty much where the crouching medium punch SPD came from.
which you no longer do, so that's good.
Exactly, I'd stop that.
But no, I mean, I think that's another cool aspect of the game is at some point you're like, all right, who am I going to X copy? Who am I going to learn from? So for me, it was like Uvega and Tyra. I just had to watch every video that they had, write notes on everything, figure out like what I like from it or how I can apply it. And I think pretty much every player from the US has done that, where they watch videos because we have to. That's the only way of catching up, right? We got to see what's already been done and like kind of shortcut our way to doing it. But it does feel good when you X copy something and it works. So when you do that one setup, you're like, oh shit, that's that thing I saw in the video and I did it. Like, I'm lit. And maybe that's why you like that crouching medium punch SPD so much.
Yeah, it looks funky. That's the funny thing about it. It looks so funky. I'm like, oh. Okay. Well, yeah, it's pretty cool. I like it a lot. So yeah, let me just keep doing it. And then he was like, and then at the time, Damned Eye and you, the folks, he was like, yo, stop doing that. It's so stupid. It's not real.
No, but there was one night at Next Level where I was like, yo, you ain't gonna hit me with that shit, and you did, and I like jumped out of my seat. I'm like, yo, I'm done.
Yeah. I felt accomplished that night. I know.
I'm like, it's not real. And I got up. I told Henry, I'm like, yo, you're running out of Dr. Peppers. I got one anyway. And I was just like, yo, that shit's not real, bro.
Oh my god. Yeah, I remember that night. I felt so accomplished. I'm like, yep, I think I am done for the night. Oh yeah, GG's. It was fun, man. Oh my god. Oh man. But then, in terms of that, like I said, I stopped doing that, and then now to a point that I remember that one night, I know you remember this, that one night that you taught me how to Hijiki that night.
Oh yeah.
I had during that time before that, and this is kind of crazy, right? Before that, because I was like, there was a point that I kind of was like, man, I felt like, at the level I was at that time, I'm like, man, I don't know if I don't know if I was going to continue at the time. I'm like, not like I was getting bored. I was more like, oh man, I was at the level that I felt like I hit my ceiling, and then I'm like, maybe I was like, man, maybe I was gonna go back to the drawing board. That's what I said to myself. And then when you taught me Hijiki, I'm like, oh. When I start doing it, I'm like, oh my god, I'm like, this changes everything. And I'm like, yeah, you were there. You were watching me literally practice, like right there, until when I started getting it consecutively. Then it was like how, then I remember you told me, dude, you're doing something that it takes folks years to master, but you did it in about an hour or so. And then I'm like, this is great. And then I'm just like literally doing it as progression and everything. And I'm like, man, this changes a whole lot of stuff. And then
it changes. My bad. Sorry to interrupt. Because it changes like the matchup, but it also changes like the mindset of the Zangief. And I'll explain it a little bit for anyone who's not aware of how to do it. But like, yeah, go on.
Yeah, so it's definitely like piggybacking what you said. Like it changes the mindset. It just changed my mindset completely. And I'm like, bro, I said to myself, man, there's so much more. I said to myself, there's so much more to learn in terms of in terms of this character, and then everything else. And then I said to myself, man, you know what? I said to myself that from that night on, I said, you know what? Let me sit down and let me really kind of practice it, and then like kind of look up some stuff in terms of how can I improve my game plan in terms of playing everybody. So then afterwards, I went home. I literally fired up. At the time, I did had HDR at the time at home, and I literally practiced it there, and then came back out. And then, I remember the first person, and you were there that day too. The very first person that I tried it against was actually Tecmo Super Bowl. And at the time, he asked you, he's like, yo, Ant got spins? And you told him, he's like, yeah, Ant got, he's like, Ant got spins. he's like, oh man, he's like, damn, I can't dick around no more. That's what he said. He's like, yeah, you gotta start taking me. I told Arthur, I'm like, yeah, you gotta start taking me seriously now.
Hajiki Screw is a huge level up, because that shit, like Gal can't throw out reckless low forwards anymore. If you're able to, let a low forward whiff and then scare them with either low roundhouse or like walk up spin, that shit's crazy.
Yeah, it is crazy. And then it also gives that intimidation factor. Like, bro, if I'm pretty much like pretty close to you in the range that I can grab you, I'm like, I will. I said I will do it. That's the thing. And I was like, man, I was doing it. And then afterwards, I'm like, yeah, I just bit by bit, I practiced Hajiki P1 side, and then try doing a P2 side, and then along the lines, I said to myself, okay, it was like solving a Rubik's Cube of myself though, because I was like, I was so sure that I knew stuff, but I really didn't know. And then I said, you know what? Along the lines, when I practice Hijiki, let me practice, actual tick setups that, watching in terms of watching like TMF videos that he does, a lot of ticks, like standing short into tick, crouching jab into tick, jump medium kick into tick. It was like all that, and then afterwards, at the time, I learned about the only combo that I know about was stand short sweep. So,
that's a good combo.
It is because it's a great bait. That's the funny thing about it. And later on in the years, in terms of learning combos with Geef, ironically, and this might be funny to you, how I learned, like, like the jab, like the cross splash, the jabs, the sweep, and all that stuff. I learned that from a tool assisted video.
It's a basic ass. Those are his BNBs. You went to a TAS?
Yeah, I went to a TAS. I'm like, oh, I didn't even know that was. I was like, oh man, I didn't even know that was a thing. I'm like, cool. I was just like, all right, let me just practice that. And next thing you know, I'm practicing it and everything like that. And then I'm like, all right, I'm getting these 4 hits, and then I get the 5. And then on like the fatter characters who's like kind of crouching and everything like that, I'm able to get like 6 or 7 or sometimes 7. And then I'm like, man, I said to myself, I'm looking at my hands and I'm like, yo, is this real right now? I'm like, is this real? Am I really doing this at this point? I'm like, this is amazing. So I said, you know what? I was like, now that I feel stronger, like I feel like I'm more competent enough. I went back out there. Like before that, I definitely went to a few more tournaments, and along the way, I've basically learned from my mistakes in terms of each of the tournaments that I just went towards. For example, like another 2 old series. There's definitely Summer Jam. There's definitely NEC that I went to. There's definitely Defend the North as well. And I just said, man, along the time I'm like, yeah, let me just keep learning from my mistakes. And there's some occasional meetups again. And the funny thing is, in terms of meetups, right? I was gonna tell you this. I know you guys been to Mike, and that's another name. That's another name that kind of annoys damn guy. Upon how I say Mike's name.
Why?
Because I say Mikeidage, and he's like, that's not how you pronounce it. I'm like, but bro, that's how it looks like. He's like, that's not how you do it, Ant. I'm like, okay, sir, I'm sorry, man. That's not how you say his name. Okay. I'm just saying, I just never been to his place. I told that to Josh. I was like, I've never been to this place, but I'm like, I heard you guys were talking about his place, either his place or Arthur's. And I'm like, man, I would love to go. And Josh told me one night, he was like, yeah, don't worry, I'll take you to Arthur's place one day. Till this day, I have yet to go.
Dude, you haven't played at Arthur's?
Never did.
It's long gone now, but
yeah, I never did. I was told that I was gonna go and never did. The funny thing about that is Arthur himself told me, dude, you need to come to my place and play. I'm like, well, A, I don't know where you live at, and B, I don't know how to really get there. So I'm like, if you would tell me how to get there, that'd be great. He's like, all right, bet. I'll let you. I was like, I'm gonna let you know right now. Till then, this right now has not even set thing, so he hasn't really told me anything.
We'll have to do the Tecmo Super Bowl revival at some point.
Yeah, man, it's fun. Man, I tell you, he's a great person to hang around with. Great person. The couple of times that we all met up between myself, you, and Tecmo, and it was pretty fun. It was definitely pretty fun meeting up with them at times, and it's like in terms of learning stuff from everything, I've learned. I gotta say, talking with you and talking with Josh, and originally how I kind of got into the FGC is through Ultimizer, but then into ST it was mainly Josh, and then it was kind of funny. It's like, and I said to myself, the more tournaments I go towards, the more networking I'm gonna do. Like each time is just like you said before, it's a huge convention. Everybody's playing their hobbies that we come to know and love at this point. So it's like I am grateful once again about that. But yeah, that's pretty much the story with that.
All right. Well, before we go on, I think it's a good time to actually start watching some of your matches. I did want to quickly explain the Hajiki screw tech. It's like you pretty much just flick the joystick really quickly. You can think of it as like just snapping your fingers on some Thanos shit, and you'll pretty much get like the motion that you need for the SPD, and it comes out super fast. So you can like just walk and quickly spin. And yeah, I was surprised that you got it so quickly because it took me a while to learn it. But then, yeah, we were just sitting. I think it was just us at next level at that point. Like everyone else was tapped out. Like they were just like, yeah, I'm done. And we were playing, even though it's maybe it was a side to side cap. So it was like just one cap. So we're sitting side by side, so we could easily just see each other's like inputs or whatever. Yeah. And then we were just like practicing it, and I'm like, all right, I'm gonna whiff this low roundhouse. I need you to be able to hit the SPD. You can't get green hand. You got to get the walk up SPD. And now I see you're like playing online. You'll do like, anti-air stand jab. Yeah, DP. They whiff the uppercut. And you just do the quick walk up spin. Yeah, so now it's just natural. But yeah, it makes a huge difference in gameplay. But yeah, let's go ahead and see your progression as a player. We'll start it off with this match over here. So it's going to be at Defend the North 2017, and it's you versus Juron.
Yeah.
So at this point, your tag name is still Walking Dead guy. Afro is tiny. And you've been playing for a bit now, right? It's already 2017, so...
Yeah. I was playing for a bit. The Walking Dead guy, it was more of a homage to The Walking Dead. I was like...
Yo, shout outs to Rick.
Rick. Oh my God, Rick, Shane, Michonne. Oh my God, I was like, I love that show. So I'm like, yeah, I need to name myself after this show. So that's pretty much where the name comes from. But to this match, the funny thing is, I know about Juron on how much of a legend he is, and I'm like, man, it was pretty surreal playing him. I thought I would have lost this now.
Reactions. Ooh. That shit caught me off guard. I forgot. Like I knew it was coming. I still forgot.
Yeah, I was lit. I was lit that time. I was so lit. I was like mad hyped that time. I was so lit, man. That's the very first time that I would punish Chun Stray Super like that. I'm like, I was like, it was a good thing I jumped back because I was looking for him to do the super, but I felt like he wasn't really. He kept making mistakes on that, like in terms of storing it. And then when he finally did it, and I just jumped back, I'm like, all right, let me turn that butter for the popcorn, and I just did it.
The origin story of the empty jump super, but we got another one here. So this is at probably one of your stronger showings, right? This is top 8 at Combo Breaker. Yeah, and it's a battle of afros out here. So
yeah, man, Afromatic. One of the dudes who ran Seasons Beatings back then that I learned, and honestly, I didn't even know the guy. That's the funny thing about it. The story behind this match was when we found out we had to face each other in top 8. We were like, yo, we got it. He's like telling me, he's like, yo, man, we got to do it big. I'm like, yeah, I completely agree with you. He's like, you got a pick? I'm like, yeah, I got a pick. He's like, what kind of pick you got? I got the one with the fist. He's like, yo, no kidding. I'm like, he showed me his. I'm like, oh.
Oh.
I'm like, oh. I'm like, okay. So, we definitely did it big though. But yeah, this match, this was definitely one of my hypest matches I had though. It was like. It was like people say that this was like probably one of the best matches in that top 8 during that time because it was pretty lit, and I was like during that time playing Damned Eye Enough got me to an idea. I'm like, yeah, I know what to do. So yeah.
You seem nervous, but at the same time, like you're chilling. I don't know.
Yeah, I was nervous, and then I'm chilling. Then there it is.
My man, yo, where'd he go? Oh, there you are.
There you go.
Where'd you go?
Yo, I was like I said, that point I was lit. I was like, man, in my head, I said, I'm gonna get it. That's what I just said to myself. I'm gonna get it. I said, I'm gonna get it. And when I do get it, I'm gonna yell. And then I was kind of exhausted and shit. And then I lost. And then that time, I kind of lost my pick. It was somewhere in the floor. And I'm like, yo, where did it go?
Yeah, there it goes.
And there it goes. Then there's the pick. There's the fist bump right there with the pick, though.
Oh shit, that was a good one.
Yeah, it was. Oh man, you see climax right there. There's Chris Delp, who they put in the pot. They put in the majority of the pot towards that combo breaker that time. So shout outs to Chris Delp and Free Play for that.
Yeah, it was pretty sick.
Yeah,
it's like that. Definitely, you can see like even just between these two matches, like the one that we just saw with you and Jerron and here. Like, slight change of play, like just being more solid overall.
Yeah.
Now there's a lot more footage, although most of it's online. Let's go ahead and check out this guy here. And you don't have to do commentary for this match, honestly. I just want you to talk about like next level, Zoo. Just talk.
Yeah, man. I'm telling you, at that time, next level. Oh man, at that time, Mars was doing commentary at that time, and Mars is like one of my biggest rivals, but he's like also a great supporter. He's like one of my biggest supporters, honestly. And at the time, it's like, man, it was pretty cool being at next level at that time. Yeah, that too old. That's when Reno was first there, so. That's where we first met Reno MD. So it was pretty fun. Definitely meeting him that time, and a lot of people for this one who showed up. There's Zoo, there was E to the NG right there. You see Diandel, there's Flash G back there. Dominican 2X.
Shout out to Flash.
Yeah, Dominican 2X behind. There's Super V was there as well. Yeah, it was a lit tournament, honestly, and it was a lot of fun. And Apollo was there too. Shout out to Apollo, obviously. He's another guy. He's another man. He's another man I respect a lot. So, and
Skillions boys.
Yeah, Skillions berries, bro. And then Duke was there. Duke came sort of late, but he was watching this matchup from afar though, and also, my boy Reginald G was there as well too. He was watching, and then there's the Ajiki right there. That was like punish.
Sick combo, bro.
Yeah, sick. Yeah, real sick combo. Real sick combo. You know what the funny thing about this match was? I really did not expect Zoo to pick Sagat. I usually thought he was just gonna go DJ, and I said to myself, I may lose. Because normally against his DJ, the way how he plays is just very weird. It's like this weird style. I'm like, all right, I'm not really getting the grasp towards it. But when he picks a god, I'm just like, all right, cool. I felt real more comfortable, and then I said to myself, oh, yeah, I'm not losing to his god. That's what I just said. So. When
Sagat started doing panic tiger uppercuts, that's how you know they're at a loss.
Yeah. So the progression went on. I'm like, Zoo can, he can be. Then he's gonna panic. Yep, there it was.
Yeah, I like how you called that.
Yeah. I just said, it comes to a point that a lot of times I always tell people like, well. I tell people nowadays in terms of playing Geef, it's like, man, the one thing you gotta really pay attention to is just you pay attention to how the player's movements in terms of what he does. If he's the type of person that kind of just panics a lot, that's how you kind of like kill him. And there's a 4-piece at the time. That was one of the tool assistant combos. And then you saw the pop off right there. I'm like, yes. I just said yes.
Got him.
I was like, got him. I'm like, I left and I left. I was like, damn, yes, that's what I just said. Oh man, but
yeah, I mean, you punished his tiger uppercuts with the splash a little bit, so yeah, he was just kind of at a loss. That was funny. Yeah. Now, there's also through your travels, I think you're able to take a lot of pictures, which we can take a look at. Before that, just one last clip. Sorry, it's of you getting bopped, but
oh man,
this is at Josh's house, right?
Yeah, I played Kusamando right there. And
that character-specific combo.
Just letting you know, when the stick was down there, I was already at the door. So I was at the door. I was at the door. I was really gonna leave. I was just like, yeah, I was gonna go. I was not upset at Kusamando. I was more along upset upon that works. So
jab. Spears.
Yeah, and I was like, Jesus Christ. I'm like, man. And I was just like, yup, I'm at the door. I'm like, and then you see the comments. The very first comment was Min. Min said, he's like, CRMP, that shit, Ant. That's what he said.
Yeah, Kashi Media Punch, that shit,
Ant. I'm like, yo, this guy, Min. I'm like, yeah.
Even Min called you out on that Crouchy Media Punch bullshit. Yeah, Crouchy Media Punch, that it.
Word. Oh my god. Oh man. Shout outs to Min, bro. I love that dude. He's awesome. He's awesome, but man, he was the first person that blow up that tweet about that.
Here, actually, we can start. Let's take a look at some of your pictures. We can actually start with this one since we got your boys out here.
Yeah. At that time, yeah, you see, it's me, Short Fro and all, is Shigatsu, and then there's Kusamando. I asked Josh to take this picture. I'm like, yeah, let me take the picture with my two bad matchups right here. Worst matchups, I have to say. So I'm like, yeah, let me just take a picture with these guys. That was a Canada Cup, so interestingly enough, that was a really fun tournament, like catching up with all you guys and everything like that. I think the first thing that came to mind of that Canada Cup is when I sat next to Damdai, he compared my leg size to his. He's like, dude, you got like cannons. And I'm like, bro, I'm like, damn, man, you got like your legs look like strings. I'm like, what's up
polio string cheese.
Yeah. The cheese that you kind of peel off. I'm like, Jesus, damn, I like eat some meat, bro.
Now, this tournament, this Canada Cup, was it where you took that crazy ass bus ride?
Yeah, it was. That was the funny story about this one. This was the tournament that shout outs to Psychochronic, right? This was the tournament that he gave me the free bus ticket to go towards, actually. So he was like doing a giveaway for a cheap bus ticket that ironically cost like, I think maybe 10 Canadian dollars or something like that. I don't know how he did it. All I do know, I got it. So I was pretty hype about that.
Yeah, I remember you told me about it. I'm like, bro, I'm just gonna fly.
Yeah,
I actually considered, because you were like, yo, well, let's get on the bus. I was just like, yeah, I'm down. How long does it take? You're like 24 hours or some shit. Like, no, I'll pass.
Yeah, man. But shout outs to him for that bus ticket. Oh man, look at this photo here. This is
speaking of Psychochronic.
Yeah, that's what he did. This was Defender North. This was 2015 at this time. There you see all the suspects. You got Arthur, Mars, there's Cross, there's Zoo, there's Flash, there's Tech Monkey, Wool out Tech Monkey, I should say. There's Markar. There's Markar.
He got the Akuma DLC for Street Fighter 5.
Word. There's Tech Monkey, there's Markar, you got Hero in the middle, Green Tea, there's Damdai, there's There's this is my boy Lee right there. Matsune. Oh my God, there's Eugene, there's Tanya there, there's you over there, Duke all the way at the corner there. It's amazing. It's great. This photo is very wholesome. That's a wholesome photo.
Who's the one between Eugene and Tanya that got the mask over their face? Is that Makiri? Because I don't see him in the picture, but I know he was at this tournament.
I think so. He might have been there. So, there's also Brendan right there between looks like between Josh and Lee right there.
Yeah, boy,
there's Brendan and Hanasu. And yeah, man, it was so fun. It was so funny. That was such a cool tournament, though. That was such a cool tournament. Here's a fun story about that one. The one time that Matsune was doing, he was doing a exhibition. He was like kind of just running through people, basically, right? How he lost. This was so funny. How he lost, right, was because of this dude named Defeat Lee. He stepped. If you remember the coffee incident.
No, go ahead. I remember Defeat Lee was talking about this shit. Yeah, go.
Yeah, he. So basically, what happened was he went behind him and wanted to meet him, but then he spilled his coffee behind Matsune on his chair. And then basically Matsune he shot up like a rocket out of the seat. And then, Defeat Lee was just like apologizing. He's like, oh shit. He's like, yo, I'm so sorry, man. I'm so sorry. Everybody looking at Defeat Lee be like, dude, what the hell's wrong with you? Why you brought coffee why you bringing coffee right here? He's like, wait a minute. It's like, we look at the time. Dude, it's like after 2 p.m. Who drinks coffee at 2 p.m.? Why are you even bringing it here? And then, we're all cleaning up the spots and everything like that. And we're cleaning this seat up. We're making sure that, none of the coffee landed on Matsune at the time. Thankfully, it didn't. And then, at that time, there was a meme. At that time, there was a meme about it, in regards about it. I'm like, bro, he's like, yo, anytime at a tournament, coffee is banned. Thanks to Defeat.
Coffee's banned.
Coffee is banned. Oh man.
Here's another quick one from the same event. Yo, you look like a baby. Yo, you got the baby face over here, bro.
Yeah, man. It was like
I had to do a double take. I wasn't even sure if it was you.
Word, man. Like this was definitely. Yeah, this was. I think this was definitely. I think this was grand finals. I think because between these two, and I know Matsune won this one, and this was grand finals, and they were just playing, and there's Zoo right there. Zoo looked like he was definitely a baby at this picture. He still is. He still is though. But yeah, this was grand finals. I was like very heavily invested watching this. So it was pretty amazing. Like at the time, I never thought that these two, some Japanese folks would have came over to America to play this game. And I was wrong with these. I was definitely wrong with these two. Like in my eyes, this was like the first time I seen these two grandmasters going at it. So yeah,
that tournament was definitely a big deal. Speaking of babies, I guess I don't know.
Yo, man, this video. Okay, so this one was taken last year at Spring Series, and at the lower, you see the little guy right there. That's Sonic Matt, the prominent Guile from Texas. The I'll call him the boy genius. I mean, dude, how he plays Guile is pretty amazing for his age. Dude knows the little guy knows his stuff at the time. He's not even little no more. He's actually 13 now. So that dude, he's a teenager. He's gonna be an adult at this point. But yeah, man. I told him, yeah, man. I need to take a picture with you. I heard so much about you. So I was like, all we got to do, we just do our characters' poses. I mean, I think he did it wrong because Guile don't do. I think Guile doesn't do that way.
No, he does when he holds his chain up in ST.
Oh, he didn't have a chain.
Look at this man telling you the lore.
Oh yeah, that's true. My fault. You're right. You're right. You told me the lore at that, but yeah, I told him I heard a lot about him. So shout out to Chris Delp. He's the one who took this picture for me, and it was a fun tournament though.
Yeah. Speaking of Texas, you also got
the
celebrity,
the celebrity, the mayor. He was supposed to be mayor-elect of Texas, Mike Beltran, right there. he was in. It's funny. He was in town in New York because he was attending NXT Takeover at the time. So it was in Brooklyn. It was at the Barclays. So he was like, I think he was definitely talking with Josh in terms of meeting up to play some ST. And Josh was asking around. He asked me if I wanted to meet up with Mike, and I'm like, yeah. I'm down to come. Came after work, and I met up with him. And then I'm like, man, it was good. It was a good meeting Mike. It was definitely good meeting him. Energy around Mike. He was like, man, it's like he had this like, man, I came to learn in the mecca of playing some ST, and it had this where he was pretty much at that next level. And the Cavs were moved downstairs, and he was like, man, there's like this dungeon feeling in here, but the dungeon is like, it's ruthless. And yeah, we played and we were pretty ruthless against him that night though, but he learned a lot collectively when he was playing us though. So,
yeah, that's a level up when you go to a new region, I guess, and like just kind of like a kumite, just fight everybody. That's how it goes.
Oh,
we got this one.
Oh man, so this is when me and Kyle respectively beaten. This was at Bisonica, actually. I didn't do too well in this tournament, but me and Kyle, we won NBA Jam. There was a little trophy there. We won against respectively the two best players for NBA
in the world,
Jam, in the world, which was Diando. Yeah, pretty much in the world, which was Diando and Apollo. And dude, at first we were getting our ass kicked, and then in the second half we came back.
Yeah, they had us in the first half.
Exactly, they had us in the first half, but then man, we came back, and then we were like, we won this. And, we won this. The ironic thing was there was a pop-off video afterwards, but I kind of lost it. There was a video.
If you find it on time, we'll get it up for this episode. If you find it.
Yeah, definitely found it. But definitely shout outs to Kyle, man. Like I've known Kyle. He was pretty much one of the major influences when I was in the time in the FGC. He was definitely one of the major influences for me as well. And I know he's like definitely one of the hardest working people that I've known over the years in terms of like making sure tournaments are ran effectively and everything. So it's like definitely shout outs to him. Like shout out to him and the BB
dude's got
folks.
the passion. Yeah, dude's definitely got the passion, man.
He does, man.
And then I think we can use this picture as a good like segue into pretty much like what's been happening these days. So
yeah, man.
I want to talk about this one.
Yeah, this was taking place at the backyard, basically. So this was titled Megaman's Super Turbo Barbecue, basically. And I said, everybody, it's funny because with this, I was like, everybody was feeling like, feeling down because nobody can't do this and anybody can't do that. And it's not like, and yeah, was I sort of risking it? I'm like, yeah, I was. I'm not gonna lie. I was risking in terms of, who had it and everything like that. But I just like, no one had it, and I trust people in good faith in regards about it. So I just like, all right, screw it. You know what? Let's just have this barbecue, and we can just have a good time playing the game we all love. So I set this all up. As you see, there's pretty much all this up there. The screens, that's pretty much my setup, except the super gun. I know that belongs to that belongs to Dong. vegan. You know, he's the owner of the vegan spot. Shout outs to the vegan spot boys in a way because they definitely came through. There you see Josh doing commentary. There's the one right here. There's Mega Decept. There's Party Marty, aka Blaze Donuts. There's me right there. The Grill Master back there. Reginald G was doing his thing. ETNG was playing, and it was ETNG for Zoolander was playing right there, and I was just watching over them. And during that, and the funny thing about that barbecue, we had halftime music performance by the time at that time.
It was like a real show.
It was. Shout out to Dominican X 2X. He played Ken Masters' theme at that time, and it was pretty sick though. It was definitely sick to watch him play, and he was playing, and Dong was like, Dong was going ham, man. That's how you know. I was like, Dong listens to rock because he was really bopping his head towards it. And I'm like, man, but it was a good feeling, and the funny, I'm happy I did it, and everybody was telling me afterwards. I'm like, yo, he's like, man, what you did. People was like telling me, man, what you did was pretty revolutionary, man. Even though we were supposed to be, kind of stay, social distancing and all that stuff, but in terms of ST, you kind of took it to a next level, and then you just had this barbecue, and everybody was telling me, bro, it was so much fun. And everybody was like, you got to definitely do it again, which I do plan on doing again. And I just said, yo, I'm glad I did it because, everybody needed to come free and, just kind of spread their legs and play some STs, shit talk and everything like that. So I'm real happy I did it. I mean, there was other people who was there too, besides Dominican 2S. There was Tech Monkey showed up. Kyle was there. Master Steve. Yeah, it was like a few more people came through and played some games, so it was pretty fun.
Nice, yeah. I mean, definitely a wholesome moment. Just being able to safely, I guess, play this game. It was like pretty much one of the only offline SC streams that have happened this year. So just backtracking to basically the beginning of the year. So I had no idea that you were streaming. Early this year, you were doing a HDR tournament, and it was Reno versus Damdai in Grand Finals. You remember that?
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, I did. That was definitely one of the. It was one of the first fight night tournaments that I did. And it was definitely Reno versus Damdai the Grand Finals. It was pretty sick though. So it was a lot. I just said, we had to just do some stuff to kind of just pass by, so people can't just feel like they're standing still. And I'm glad that I did it. So it's like till this day, we're still. We're still running tournaments at this point. You and I are still running stuff. You know what I'm saying? The way how people see it in terms of like running some big tournaments or so. Pretty much they'll go to my partner in crime here, Riz, and then there's me. And then basically anytime, the funny thing is, and you should know this too, is like anytime when something needs to be ran or shill, everybody's like, there's two people to go towards. And it's us two. It's literally us two. So I just say, yeah, man, I keep running these tournaments. But yeah, that was definitely the only offline tournament, session, I should say, that happened pretty much during that year. And I don't take it back. I'm glad I did it, like I said. And, in 2021, when I'm doing it again, definitely, hopefully, more people can come through, and we can have some more fun and everything like that. So that's pretty much the plan for me with that.
Yeah, I hope we're still able to do more of these tournaments this coming year. I just remember going back to that the HDR tournament when I logged on Twitch or whatever. I just saw the very end of it, and I was like, oh shit! Like you can. So I'm such a noob. I was like, oh shit, like you can just stream games? Like I didn't even know. I knew you could stream, but then I thought it was just like big people that are streaming all the time, like your Spookies or whatever. So oh shit, like my man just ran an AGR tournament online and streamed it. And I remember at the end you're like, yo, what up, Riz? Yo, give me a follow. I was like, what the fuck's a follow? I was like, I don't know how to do that shit. I thought it was complicated. I had no idea about it. But then you kind of like pushed me to. I was like, yo, man, I'm thinking about streaming. And you were like putting me on to all this stuff. I'm like, yo, this is what you do, and this is how you set this up. So yeah, man, I owe that shit to you, man.
Anytime, man. I'm glad that. I'm glad you're definitely heavily invested into it now, man, because it's so much of a transformation from the first time to like now. It's like, man, now it's just to a point of like, bro, it's just like, it's quite special, really. It's quite special. So I'm happy I definitely put you on it, man. I really am. So it's, I mean, at this point right now, it's like, at this point, you're doing really big things. It's like from tournament running to, I mean, SLB right now at this point, and then interacting, with doing tournament commentary for like CVS2, talking with Boss and everything. It's kind of amazing, man. It's like I look at it. I'm like, not like what your achievements. It's definitely a sense of accomplishment, and I'm happy I'm a part of it. That's the thing, a major part of it. So I really am now.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of just fell on our laps, though, right? We were literally just messing around on 30th, and fucking then this dude comes through MICVF. Yeah, like, yo, when's the tournament for this shit?
Yeah, shout out to Jose Cruz, bro. It's like, it's funny. We talked about, man, it's like we just joking about it. And at that time, that's when New Legacy was first released. And we were playing it, and we were like, yo, man, imagine running a tournament about this. Then next thing you know, he's like, yo, next thing you know, NYC VF comes through, he's like, bro, you want to run a tournament for this? I'm like, I mean, I guess.
We're like, yeah, like it's a joke.
Yeah, he's like, I bet I can. He's like, yo, I'm gonna get art to put in the plug and everything like that. I'm like, wait, is this? And we said to ourselves, we're like, wait, this guy's serious?
I remember thinking like, yeah, okay, whatever. I'm gonna just keep chucking fireballs and shit.
Exactly. And then next thing you know, we had that talk about it. We were like, bro, I'm telling you, folks, me and Riz had this talk about it. Like, yo, bro, we were unsure as shit. I am telling you.
I was so nervous, dude. I was like, I don't want to do this.
And that's what I said. I'm like, yo, really, I really don't want to do this. And I'm like, not to really bank in terms of, how much people was going to enter. I say, hey, if it was only under 4, I'm like, oh, well, tournament canceled. Nothing we can do about it.
We low key, it's just so you guys know, we low key were hoping that the shit flopped. We're like, hope no one signs up, hope Art's busy, like, or like, my internet dies or something. We didn't want to do it.
Yup, I'm telling you, bro. We were like, man, it's not like we didn't want to do it. It's just that it just came on to us. That's the thing about it.
It's so much anxiety, man.
Sure, it was. Like, it just came on to us. And then we were like worried about it. And then next, we got Art. Art was like, yo, we doing this? We doing this? I'm like, fuck. That's what
damn it.
I'm like, shit. All right, well, I said to Riz, I'm like, well, I guess we're gonna have to do it. And then
literally, we were calling each other like every day, like, yo, what's the chances of it happening now?
Yeah, it's like it decrease. I'm like, yo, I kept saying, yo, decrease. Next thing you know, yo, we got 20 people. I'm like, what?
Shit.
I'm like, damn. Now we have to run it. And what it's funny. What turned into a joke turned into basically a dynasty, literally. So
yeah,
it's like we came out. We did 5 installments of New Legacy tournament at this point. We have 5 installments, and it's funny. It's like, it's like, do we take that back? Nah, we don't take it back. It's actually, we're happy. I mean, I'm in hindsight glad we did it, because it kind of really propelled us into a newer level of things in terms of commentary and shilling stuff and everything like that. Then
like involvement basically in the
scene.
Like
we got more involved, more into everything else. I mean, now we get involved with the Mexico ST scenes, and they have their fight nights every other Friday. Shout outs to Kudo. He's like I want to say like the ambassador in terms of the Mexico scene, and he's part of the Team Shill Boys as well too. So
yeah, we got the Illuminati chat, so he's in there.
Yeah, he's definitely in there. So it's like we all talk about the same thing, and it's funny, man. It's like along the lines. It's like I'm happy. I'm happy. I mean, like I said, shout out to Jose, man. If it wasn't for him pushing us, I don't think we would have. I mean, I think we would have done it maybe later, but during the time, I think it was pretty much the right time to really do so. So,
I mean, you know what I thought when he dropped in the chat? He goes, y'all better effing do it now. Like when he got art on the stream, y'all better effing do it. The first thing I thought was, this man punched a hole in the wall at next level, because like he popped off or something when I won. Like I better politely accept his.
You don't want nothing to do with that.
I better politely like if you're popping off for me and punch a hole through walls, what would you do if I like say no? You know what I mean?
I think he would have walked up and punched a hole somewhere.
We had to do that shit.
Oh my god.
But anyway, while we're on the subject of like the different versions of Street Fighter 2, because there's a story that I know everyone wants you to tell. What are your thoughts on HDR, New Legacy, and then finally we'll get into the Ultra SF2, the infamous Ultra SF2 story?
Okay, so I would say like HDR is definitely like everybody would know that game was a lot. David Sherlin had his hand in that a lot in terms of having remix mode and everything, but mainly the folks that takes it seriously always plays it on classic mode, and I think pretty much which is for the Xbox 360, by the way. There was a PS3. There is a PS3 version, but apparently that version sucked ass because there was too much input lag on that one. So everybody said, let's stick with the 360 mode, the 360 one, and 360 had like definitely the better connection and everything like that. Like it felt pretty fluid, and usually play with like Damn Die and a couple of other folks on it. I guess the only problem that folks had, which was the sprites, because the sprites just look wonky as shit, and it was just kind of weird. And afterwards, people were just like, nobody really want to play this because of how it is and everything like that. And then you had New Legacy, which is a rebalance of ST. Shout out for, which was made by Born to SPD, and give a shout outs to Born of SPD. He took over 6 years to actually do that out of his time, to really kind of put himself there in terms of this rebalancing a game that folks feel like the game was broken, or it was too much catered to top tier and everything like that. So you kind of just nerfed them, and there's people who feel that Geef is like top tier, but he's not. I'm just saying right there and then. He's not.
Yeah, okay.
And I know the people who say it, but I just said he's not. But I feel like those are like, such interesting like those. It's like different way to play things. I'm like, in terms of HDR, everybody was like doing HDR because of the coronavirus and everything like that. So they had like this was before Fight K2 became what it is today, and everybody was like, yeah, we try to find a way to play some HDR, and we have our own Illuminati chat in terms of let's go ahead and play some HDR and everything like that. So usually it'd be like myself, Damned Eye, Crossed. Time to time there would be Mars or Jollies, or there's Atari would come through, and one time Ultra Combo came through as well. So it was like that was really the best means to play. And then when Fight K2 became what it is today, we have New Legacy, and New Legacy, like I said, it's pretty much the balance. It's like a balance hack of ST, which I find it's fun. I mean, you'd be surprised what people would do during the whole lockdown and everything like that. I feel like if the lockdown never happened, I don't think Born would have been done with New Legacy. That's just me, but we got it done, and we've been playing New Legacy, and New Legacy is fun. It's not going to. I just said to people, it's not going to replace ST. There's no way. I mean, it's just a hack that is a fun game to try. I think people should just try to expand their mind in terms of we don't have to play the same game over and over. There's other instances that's out there that if you want to play. But,
yeah, I just want to play NL on a cab and I feel good.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the funny thing about NL, there's only 2 people that actually have it on a cab. One person has it on a cab, and then the other person has it on Darksoft. And the person who has it on the cab is actually TMF, and he was the very first person to Darksoft it to his Darksoft and put it to his cabinet. And then the other person who did it was Art Sanchez. Shout outs to him. And those are technically the only 2 people that was able to do so. And the irony about New Legacy in terms of the balance hack is it was, for what Bourne told me, he kind of based it off of Jed Possum's based off of Jed's balance hack, and then he just kind of took it further. So it's pretty cool when he did. It was pretty cool when he did that. So
yeah, I mean, I would say Bourne probably has more knowledge about the game than anyone else in the world, because he'd read the entire program, and it doesn't mean necessarily most about the matchups or most about whatever, but data wise and like the hitboxes and frames, whatever you want to call it, all that stuff. He is literally the most knowledgeable person on the planet about Super Turbo, and that's crazy.
Yeah,
so
it's quite amazing, and like I said, shout outs to Bourne about that, man. It's without him, there's no guide, and obviously the wiki is up there thanks to him. So definitely, if you want to take a look at that, you should definitely look up the Shoryuken wiki about that. So it's quite amazing. So
yeah. Now let's get to the meat and potatoes. This Ultra SF2 story. So it was May 27th. 2017. Yeah. It was cold that morning.
Yeah, it was.
Go ahead to tell the whole story.
It was. So the story behind that is, you hit me up in terms of this tournament, and I said, I remember, because during that time I'm like, then I kind of remember I had to work that day. Then I'm like, oh well, it was towards the afternoon. I'm like, screw it, I can still come out there and anyway and everything like that. So we met up. There was a line that was out there. Everybody had their Switch that had, I think there's a couple of people that already had the copy of Ultra Street Fighter 2. And then they were practicing out there. And we was kind of talking in regards about that. And he was like, oh, man. He was like, we looking at people. He's like, man, what are the odds of we talked about it. He was like, yeah, what are the odds of us, becoming first and second He's like, then you were like, you first, me. He's like, I'm first, you second. I'm like, what if I want to be first? He's like, then you were like, no. And I'm like, all right.
No, that never happened. That's not true. That doesn't sound like something I would say.
I know.
That's like if it was you and Dan Night online. Fuck
I
know. What a liar, dude. Yo, you almost had me going for a minute.
No, he didn't. No, I'm just saying, he didn't say that. Oh, he was just like... No, he didn't.
Draw a game, bro. Draw a game.
Draw a game. No, we didn't say that. We was like, nah, man. We was like, man, let's just... We were just like, yeah, let's just do the thing, though. But we was like... The funny thing was, when we were outside, we were so concerned with getting practice. And we have yet to get practice when we got in there. Like, this line was just stupid long.
Yeah.
And we were like, man, this is gonna be, and we was like, okay, this is probably gonna be a long day. That's what we were just saying. And then we finally got, when we finally got in there, alright, we finally got in there. The tournament was gonna begin in like 10 minutes or so. We saw like a free station open. I'm like, alright, man, let's just go ahead and just try to get some practice in. Now we got denied that too. So we were basically going in there cold. Like, we had no idea what we were expecting. That was the funny thing about it. Like, we had no idea what we were expecting. And then, we were there and, we basically had our matches. I think the most difficult part about that tournament wasn't the gameplay. It was setting up the controls. That was the most difficult part about it. We had to switch it from light to pro. And when we had to switch it from light to pro, we were like, man, what the hell is this? And then we had to make sure the buttons were matching how we wanted to match it and everything. And then it was like, damn, bro, this was just crazy.
We were playing on a controller though, right, or something like one of those. Yeah, at least
the
I think
Joy-Cons.
it was a controller. Yeah.
We were playing the Joy-Cons because at that time the stick never came out and the Pro controller never came out as well too during that time. It was just all Joy-Cons at the time being. But the Joy-Cons just felt flimsy as shit. And I mean, the thing about it was the inputs. It was basically like remix mode, basically. So it was very simplified. And, a lot of things we was able to do, but man, I think that was pretty much the hardest part of the tournament was just setting up the controllers. But moving on from that, I shit you not, folks, Riz saved my tournament run. He literally saved my tournament run. Only once. He saved my tournament run because there was this kid that I'm gonna call him. Yeah, he's a kid. I beat him. Right? I beat him. Then he went and told the TOs that he beat me. So me and Riz was just basically standing there, and Riz was just playing his match and everything like that. And then I'm like standing here, I'm like, yo, what the hell? I haven't played in like over 20 minutes. So I'm like, this is kind of weird. And then Riz called one of them over and told him like, oh, what happened in my match and everything like that. And it was like they said you lost to this person. I'm like, no, I never lose to this person. And he was like, oh. Then next thing you know, they had a brief intermission. They were talking about it and everything like that. And this was to go into top 12. And he was like, all right, listen. He's like, I got good news, bad news. He's like, good news is the dude cleared up and he actually said he lost, but he already left because you guys already took the picture. So he has to keep, so the stupid part was he had to keep the medal. But I'm in top 12. But he gets to keep the medal that belongs to me because he took the picture. And I'm like, what? I'm just looking at these folks. I'm like, what? What do you mean I have to keep? What do you mean he gets to keep the medal and I can't? And I'm still in top 12. So basically, if I come up nearby, I'm like, so that means, bro, I'm like, I'm not getting shit. So I'm just gonna be in a victory photo with nothing. That's what I said.
And actually, the medal is pretty cool. It was a heavy weight, and it had a 30th anniversary on it. Yeah, it was a pretty nice medal, and it sucks that they didn't just have like extras laying around. But I mean, I suspect that they wouldn't need to have extras. But there should have been a countermeasure in place for their like weak sauce bracket running.
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty weak. Yeah, you see that? Yeah, there he is. The dude with the imitation fro at the back there. That was the dude who took my medal. So he was the one who took my medal when I was supposed to be up there. I was supposed to be in that picture. So I was supposed to be in that picture. I was supposed to be in that middle or next to Riz or somewhere. But that was all taken away from me because, you know, my mans went and lied about, I beat him. When, you know, I 2-0'd that ass, but still. It's
kind of fraud, dude.
Yeah, I'm like, it kind of, it's, you know, to this day, I mean, am I salty about it? Yeah, because I could have been a part of something, you know what I'm saying? I could have been a part of history, and, you know, owner would have been like, yo, who's that guy in the fro back there? Nah, he's seeing somebody else with that. So...
And then, oh shit, the Zoolander clone is here. The dude with the
oh yeah, that's right. I got them bombs, man. He was there too.
I straight up thought it was Zoo for a minute. Like,
yeah, he was like Zoo. He was like Zoo medium.
Yeah, I remember I had to fight him, and he picked Claw. I forget. I think I just used Dictator or Ryu. I don't really remember, but. And then he goes, man, if you weren't at this tournament, I'm like, what?
It's funny. He saw us both. He's like, damn. Now he's like, oh, this is going to be a serious tournament. That's what he said. And I'm like, man, yep. I'm like, yep. Well, that's basically what it was. So it was really serious. We were just messing around and everything like that. But yeah, you see right there, there's basically the stage. So that screen was connected to that one to the far, I want to say the far left by the window.
Yeah, by the window.
Yeah, so basically that's where how the screens look like and everything like that. And just a reminder for folks, this tournament had various ages in this. Like, I mean,
no, but you saw that picture. That picture had a bunch of like adults, right?
Yeah, like adults.
A bunch of kids.
Yeah. There's like a bunch of adults in that picture. Like I'm telling you, I know a certain someone wanted to hear a side story about during that time. I don't think I told you the story. There was a kid who I was playing, and then his father was like threatening me because I did so much SPDs towards him. He was like, yo, that shit is cheap, man. Why don't you fight like a real man and everything like that? And I'm like, but that's what the character, I just told him, like, but that's what the character does. He's a grappler. Get good. Made the kid cry. He was like, yo, I'm gonna see you outside. I'm like, all right.
You should have told me. I would have hella flex on homie. Like, what?
Yeah, like, I'm just like, come on, man. I'm like, that's what the character does. It's not my fault. It's not my fault that I'm playing the correct way in terms of that. But yeah, it's like, but yeah, this stage was pretty cool. Like, you know, the screen was pretty huge, and everybody. I mean, shout outs to Nintendo for running it, but man, they should have kind of done a better job at running this tournament, though. That's the funny thing like that. But you know, the winner of this tournament is the partner in crime, so he definitely won. I mean, I lost. Yeah, I lost to the Blanca that you played actually. Yeah, look at
that crisp beard though.
Yeah, that beard was crisp, man.
I actually bought that hoodie there because it was fucking cold that day.
Yeah, you came with a shirt. I was like, why?
I always wear a button-up shirt, don't I?
Yeah, but it's just like you just wore that. I'm like, bro, it's brick as shit outside. What were you thinking?
But it was middle of May, bro. It was almost June. I don't know why it was so cold.
I know it was that funny with that. I'm like, man, it was that cold outside. Shouldn't really be like that, but well, it was like that.
But it was fun. I don't know why other people didn't go, like other people from New York, but I just knew that you'd be interested. So yeah, I just hit you up like, bro, you want to go to this shit? It might be fun, and it was a lot of fun because
it was.
It was just it was a new game, and then they had the Ono video. They did the freaking the video for top 12 or top 8 or whatever, and it's just in the back doing a robot and shit.
Yeah, it was that it was that funny. It was like there was like 3, 2, 1, and then you were just doing the robot. I'm like dying at the side. I'm like, bro, what the hell are you doing?
Everyone's trying to like do their fucking character poses and like whatever.
Yeah, I'm like you doing the robot. I'm like, bro, Dictator don't do a robot.
Yeah, you know what? If you find any of this stuff, just let me know. I'll just like show it all during your you told them the story about USF2, but
I will. I gotta look for it. I think I could be wrong, but it could be on YouTube. But I gotta look for it though. But yeah, man. But that was a fun day though. It was a pretty fun day. Like it was. And then after it was all and done, we went our separate ways and everything like that. But it was pretty fun though. It was a fun day. It was a day that I would never forget because I almost got into a fight for playing the game right. And then at the same time, I got robbed. I got robbed of the glory of being in that top 12 photo. So yeah.
Yeah, it's a horrible day actually, but
we
had fun. I guess and that's the important part.
We did have fun. That's what was important about that.
But yeah, other than that, I just have a few more questions. Then we can get into like community questions. I know a couple were asked. Some of them we might have already gone over, but all right. So who would you say are the top players of each region? Or your favorite player to watch? Doesn't have to be like they're the best.
Well, I would say for sure, like in terms of top players and everything, there's definitely like Ultra Combo. There's Damn Die, there's Ultra Combo, Afro Legends as well. There's definitely you. There's there's you. There's Chris Doyle. There's Tech Monkey. I feel like in terms of there's the DGVs and definitely the Alex Valles. It's still around and still playing. And then, recently you got John Choi back in the mix and everything like that. He was like mad. He was like the most feared person back then in terms of Ultra God and Ryu and everything. Yeah. But in terms of like, US, like I said, I feel like you got Ultra Combo, you got Damn Die, Afro Legends. There's you. I'd say like there's a Kudo. It's very Hodoko. Hakudo. America. Hakudo. There's definitely Mars. Mars has to be up on that list there for sure. And yeah, man, like the list varies, to be honest with you. I think it varies because I feel like in terms of all the top players, there's so much diversity in terms of the characters that they use. It's just amazing. And then in Europe, you definitely got Zagi, you got Max, you got Abadel, Bazooka, Evil
you said Abadel.
Abadel, it was Abadel. And then I keep calling him Abel at times. I don't know why, but still. But you got those guys, and you definitely got the Mexico Seas, my boy Frijoles. You got H0. It varies, man. And then there's Mr. Balcork.
I thought this was you for a quick sec.
Oh yeah, he as you see right there, folks, he is emulating this guy, he's emulating me, and I'm very honored. So I'm happy about that.
Shout out to my boy Balcork.
Yeah, shout out to Balcork, man. He's emulating.
Shit.
He's emulating me. It's actually, it's so funny. It's almost the same. It's pretty much almost the same proportion as my hair. So that's actually pretty good. That is very good. I highly respect that. I
knew I'd be able to use this picture someday.
Oh man.
Yeah, another one of you here.
Yeah, it is me right there. That's at the time I was wearing the "Let's Play Games Like Adults" picture right there. So that's pretty much like one of my go-to pictures. And when they think of me, they think of that picture right there. It's kind of funny, but it's cool though. I like it a lot though. But yeah, and man.
And then Japan region. Who's the best?
Oh man, Japan. Got the Shotens and Amawata. Bro, it's so hard to say, man. Everybody over there is so good. Like their mindset is so different than ours compared to Kurahashi. I mean, there's Gunzei, there's Yuvega, Murasaki, Yaya, Oda-chan, Anakin.
Yeah, literally, you just name anybody from Japan at this point.
Yeah,
man,
basically.
It's too bad because we were supposed to go in May. We had our tickets, everything was good, and then shit happened.
Yeah, it really did. Like, man, we were supposed to go. I mean, Makiri was gonna hook me up with talking with the geef gods out there, and I would have been like, yeah, let the learning tree commence right there. Like I was so excited, and then Rona hit, and then Japan Airlines like, yeah, you're gonna take this money back, sir. That's basically what they said. And I'm like, shit, bro. I'm like, man,
yeah.
The funny thing was, alongside of Japan, technically the next trip was gonna go to NCR because we technically talked about that, and then that got canned, and that got canned as well. And I'm like, everything was just breaking down in a hurry in that first month, of Rona right there. So it was just kind of crazy. But
yeah, I remember how much it hurt when I had to call the airline to cancel the booking, and then also when John Choi posted that NCR would be canceled. I was like, oh my god, man, this is horrible.
Yeah, I was pretty devastated, honestly. It was like, man, I'm like everything. I'm like, it's not like it's like I definitely worked up towards it, and I'm like, man, I kept counting down the days I was gonna go to Japan. I'm like, yo. At the time, I'm like, yo. I was telling my girlfriend at the time. I'm like, yo, it's getting close. I'm like, she's like, yeah, it's just like a month more, and then you get to go. And then she was like, at the time, she helped me prepare. It's kind of funny. She helped me prepare questions in terms of, she prepared questions in terms of what to ask or what to see and everything like that. I'm like, well, I mean, I told her like, yeah, you and I kind of really planned out things how it was going to go. And even though it was just 2 weeks, I'm like, yeah, I had an idea what I wanted to do in the first place. And then the funny thing about it was I learned along the line that in terms of going to Japan, obviously I heard, Ultra Combo was going to go. And then I also learned that, this dude, Norman Jr. 911, he was also going to go on that same week as well. So I'm like, oh, we was going to be, I'm like, oh man, I was talking with him. I'm like, damn, we can definitely meet up and everything like that. He's like, hell yeah, man. He's like, yo, what's the plan? He's like, man, I'm playing ST for that whole 2 weeks. He's like, what's the plan with you? I'm like, bro, I'm gonna go see shit, then play ST. So,
yeah, no, you have to. You gotta get the right balance, bro.
Yeah, yeah. I'm like, as much as I would love to, I would love to do that. I would love to play ST. I'm like, I'm gonna just play for that week, but I just wanted to see it because technically, Japan was on my list in terms of places that I wanted to go. And I mean, it's been on my list for so much years. It was like, man, I really wanted to do this. And then, Rona happened, and that was that. Then, in terms of NCR, I'm like, the last time I've been to NorCal was like 2000. This was like 2014, 2000. No, yeah, it was 2015 actually, the same year after my first tournament. And at that time, that's when I first met Ultra Combo, and there was like a bunch of players there. Like I met Ultra Combo. There was Papasi. Shout out to thanks Papasi. And I met Papasi. I met Vestax. There was Darkness. ITF was there. At the time, this was before Noun was leaving. So I got the pleasure of meeting Noun, and
that boy Fudd.
Yeah, Fudd. I got the got the pleasure of meeting Noun and Myung as well too. I met him there as well. So
Myung.
Yeah, Myung. I'm like, there was some cool killers that I met up there and everything like that. And then I was happy to meet these guys. And then, I just forgot. There was one more person that I kind of did not mention in terms of meeting New York at the session. Yanis Gemini.
Oh, shit, yeah.
Yeah,
Damn, where the hell is he, dude?
Yeah,
he's back in West Coast again, right?
Yeah, he's in NorCal. I think he's in NorCal.
Yeah,
so, yeah,
damn,
he's in NorCal.
Yeah,
he's in NorCal. He was pretty much one of the more bigger influence I had in the scene with him, because usually being him top, he was on GDP almost every day. Excellent, boxer player.
Boxer Chun.
Yeah, Boxer Chun at the time. He kind of dabbled with Ryu, but he was like Boxer Chun with those. And then he was definitely one of my biggest influences in terms of the ST scene as well. But yeah, man. I mean, a lot of shit came down, and a lot of things got canceled, but kind of had to make the best of it in terms of what you had to do. So, in terms of what I'm like, man, well, you have to be running we ran some online tournaments, and I had a Super Turbo barbecue that, like I said, I don't regret doing. So, pretty happy about that. That's for sure.
Yeah, I think it was definitely an interesting year, and plenty more like ST to come. For now, probably all the questions I got, so we can run through your community questions. I don't know if you got to take a look at them yet, but you can just dig them up. It's on Discord.
Yeah. Okay. So I saw one of the questions from Vodka. He said, "Why you keep using Zangief? When don't you listen to Damn Die?" I listen to Damn Die here and there. I'm very selective. I'm just gonna say it right there.
Yeah.
I'm very selective in terms of listening to Damn Die. Damn Die taught me maybe two things in terms of safe jumping and how to safe jump with Geef and what's the proper anti-air and everything. So I took that with basically a grain of salt, and I just said, I kind of applied it to my game and everything. So shout out to Damn Die for that. That's why I don't listen to. I listen to him very well here and there. Most of the other times, I either just agree with them and get him pissed off, and that's pretty much what I do. Okay, let's see. Another question from Super V. He said, "Who's your favorite Geef player to watch, and which Geef player have you learned the most from?" So I would say my favorite Geef player to watch would be TMF, but then also I've watched a lot of Stomach Romeo as of lately, and I watch a lot of Gunze as well. And then there's another one, Nobita Zangief. He mains old Geef, hence why I kind of use old Geef in between of how I play and everything like that. So if in terms of my favorite, I would say it definitely would be TMF, but where I learned from the most, I would probably say between TMF and Gunze. I learned between the two. And then for me, I kind of just like add my own personality into things because there are some things that I don't, there's some things that I know they probably do, but I don't see them doing, and I end up doing it. So I just like, yeah, X copying is cool and all, but then at the same time, if you want to add, I like to add my own personality towards things, so I can be like, yeah, this couple of these things I do because I do it because it's me. So that's
like
how I feel.
crouching medium punch SPD.
Exactly,
cool.
that is me. Let's see. There is one from Kung Fu. Oh, I like this one. He's like, "What's your main order at KFC?" So basically, I got the $5 fill-up box. Comes with the two-piece, with the two-piece chicken. The two-piece chicken basically comes with the mashed potatoes and the potato wedges with a cookie. And then he's asked, chicken tenders, spicy or original? Neither, because I don't eat chicken tenders. I think they're just lame. Buffalo wing sauce, or barbecue? And I said, hey, for that answer, I'm gonna say both because they're both equally just as good. I mean, you could just basically eat anything with buffalo wing sauce, and barbecue sauce, it's to die for. That's for sure.
You're cutting a promo out here.
Yeah, I'm cutting a promo, bro. Let's see. X64 says, who is your biggest rival? Basically, I would say my biggest rivals would be Josh, Mars, you. But when you're like in it, you know what I'm saying, Riz? Like when you're in it, I know you're kind of like very out of practice and everything. When you, Reno, I mean, Ultra Combo, it's the list goes on, but it's definitely Josh first, only because once he introduced me to the scene, but he literally wrecked me at times in terms of playing Claw versus Geef, and I never really understood at the time. I never really understood the matchup, but I mean, I would say like this was what he's done for me is one of the biggest the biggest lessons learned in terms of things. Like, it's pretty cool that what he did for me. So yeah. Let's see. Reno asks, how did it feel to win a tournament with Geef? So if people did not know, I did win an online qualifier tournament with Zangief. I never switched. And the funny thing about that run is I lost to Mr. Carabano. Shout outs to him, though. I lost against Mr. Carabano first round. And basically, I made that run. And I said to myself that time, I'm like, man, screw that. I'm just going to just win. That's what I just said to myself. Something just told me I'm just going to just win, no matter what it takes. And how I feel winning with him, I would say, like, I feel good. I mean, there was a debate earlier saying if I was the first North American Geef to win a tournament. Folks said yeah, folks said no. I mean, to be honest with you, it doesn't really matter. Like Vodka would say, any tournament that Geef wins is a celebration for it, which is true. And I felt pretty good about it. Like, I mean, I can say for sure winning that definitely shows how much I've progressed over the years. So, I mean, I never thought I would be beating top players nowadays, and I'm considered myself a top player at this point. And all I can do is just improve in terms of what I am doing now. So, online is cool, but I much rather do it in an offline setting, knowing that there's no excuses. And then I'm just looking at people be like, yeah, I did it with this character. So
it's that dedication with
it is.
You gotta die with your main or whatever.
Yeah, that's what Balcrook said, and I inspired him to say it. I die with my main. I don't switch. I don't believe in switching because it's just weird. Because I mean, if you want to put it in I'm not saying to anybody like if you got to counterpick. I'm like, you got to do what you got to do to win. But there's those who's definitely, keep up with the loyalty. And like me, I stay loyal to with my character for as long as I have to. I'm like, for me, Geef keeps my ego in check, which is kind of weird, but he kind of does. So he makes me learn because if you play with nothing and you succeed, you definitely worked hard in terms of what you do. You're bettering your craft at this point.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's pretty much what I do. Canada KOF says, how long did you prepare before landing an empty jump 720 on Damn Die? I said that day, and Riz have that checkbox. I said it was gonna happen, and guess what? It did happen. Apparently, Damn Die feels like, oh, well, it was just a lucky jump in because I went for sweep, and then I just said, well, who the hell tell you to sweep mid-screen like that? So I don't understand that. I saw an opportunity and I took it. Therefore, checkmate. Check him off. Check that man off. Let's see. Reno Hacks. What NWO Wolfpack member do you most identify with, and how long did you lab detect required to parallel park Zoolander's car? Oh my God, that's okay. There's a small story about the Zoolander's car situation, but let me tell you this first. So in terms of the Wolfpack member, he should know this. Lex Luger, the narcissist Lex Luger, the narcissist Lex Luger, only because he's just narcissistic about everything. And people be talking about, when I play Geef, I'm a narcissist because he has Geef sucks, and he has so much bad matchups. But I just persevered through it and everything like that. And as for Zoolander's car, okay, so it didn't take me long to map. Well, it took me like maybe 10 minutes to lab it, only because Zoolander's car was so old. It didn't have a whatchamacallit. It didn't have a backup camera. It didn't even had a Bluetooth. It had if you remember Riz, you insert the tape that has the aux cable next to it at the end of it. It had that in it. And I'm looking at this car. I'm looking inside this car. I'm like, damn, what the hell, Zoo? Dude, upgrade. What the hell is this? And then the funny thing about his car, it's not a car. It's actually a Jeep. I think you should know because you've been in it.
Yeah, I survived.
Dude, Riz, bro, I was so worried about you that night. I am not gonna lie. I was so worried. I was driving back, and I'm like, yo, I need to call. I kept saying, yo, I need to call you. I need to call you to see if you made it back to Brooklyn. And I'm like, I didn't understand. I'm like, man, that was so unfortunate. I was really gonna give you the ride home that night.
I couldn't sleep for the day before. I don't remember if I had flown in. You saw me. I was dead. I knocked out your car on the way to the tournament at the venue. I just wasn't really feeling it.
Yeah.
And then I remember the last thing I said to you. We were at the parking lot or whatever. I was like, "Yo, man, it's probably the last time I see you."
I know, bro. I was like, "Damn," but I was like, "Yo, I kept asking, you sure? You sure?" He's like, "Yeah. Zoo's gonna help me. He's gonna take me back there." I'm like, "Bro." I'm looking at Zoo and I look back at you. I'm like, "You sure?"
I was just like, yo, fuck it. I was like, whatever. This is my last tournament.
YOLO boys. Yo, YOLO boys. I'm like, bro. I'm like, man, I was really gonna call you, but the story behind Zoo's car is basically he did not know how to parallel park whatsoever because he was so used to going up a driveway, and then so basically in my car, it was me as Riz. There was ETNG. Who else was in the car that time? I think it was
your boy that we went to.
Oh yeah, Tega. NY Tega was in the car. Shout outs to him also. NY Tega, and it was us. We were waiting on Zoo, and we all looking at Zoo. Zoo was having a hard time parking. 10 minutes passed by. This man's still doing it. 20 minutes passed by. This man's still doing it. I'm like, yo, ETNG was like, yo, he's like, yo, Ant, I got a question. Are we just gonna leave him here? He's like, are we gonna leave him here? And I'm like, all right, I'm like, yo, I got out the car. I got out the car. I was tight. I was like, yo, because I was tight originally, and this is the funny thing about it. I was tight originally because we called this dude Zoo. I told Zoo, meet us at ETNG's crib at this time. And he's like, we're trying to leave. I said, we're leaving by 12. And then he was like, okay. Next thing you know, it reaches 12. He's like, I'm asking Zoo, yo, Zoo, where you at? He's like,
he just left the crib.
He just left the crib. I'm like, what?
My God.
He's like,
I was upset, dude. I was already, like I said, I felt like I was hungover or some shit. I was just like, dude, why do you have to do this every time, man?
Every time.
I was not having it that day.
He was like, but he's like, oh, I thought you told me to leave at 12. I'm like, where in my mouth did I said leave at 12? I said we're leaving from E's crib by 12. Not the other way around. And then, you know, with the whole parking, I kicked him out of his car, and I parked it within 2 minutes. Shit. Yeah, within some GTA. I pulled him out of the car. I'm like, get out, just get out, and I just did it. And then you know, Angel, he came outside. He watched me park. He was like, when I came outside, Angel was like, yo, man, you're a master park. And I'm looking at Zoo. I'm looking at Zoo. I'm like, yo, get the hell in the car. That's what
so first it was some Grand Theft Auto shit. Then it was kidnapping.
Yeah, I just like, yo, just get the. He's like, yo, Ant, thanks, man. I'm like, yo, just get the hell in the car right now, bro. I'm like, we're already late. That's what I'm saying. We were already late. Word, because we were already late because Apollo actually hit me up. Apollo was like, yo, bro, aren't y'all supposed to come here for ST? I'm like, bro, it's a long story. It involves Zoolander. He's like, oh, say no less. That's what he just said. say less. He said, say less. He's like, don't even worry about it. And then we all showed up and everything like that. But yeah, that's basically the story with the car with that. Never again. All I can just tell Zoo, take the bus. That's what I'm just saying. Yeah. Let's see. Hungief says, explain the joy of getting from playing and specifically winning with Zangief if knowing he isn't the best. So like I said before, in terms of just playing him, I play him to just learn. I feel like, you know, like it's more like I tell people in terms of playing a character, you learn more about yourself than the character. So basically, are you the type to be like, you know, are you gonna stick it out? You gonna work hard to get your wins and everything like that? I just said with Geef, yeah, I already know he ain't the best, but if you know for a fact you win with him, I mean, there's a lot you can accomplish in the first place, and I proved it at times, time and time again. Like, you know, down to having Damn Die be speechless about my win against the like of Siloscope. If you remember that match.
I knew somehow. Like, I was like, this is how the seeding worked out. You know, you got a tough matchup. Mm-hmm. Solid an amazing player, but something in me, I said it probably at the beginning of the time, like, yo, Damn Die, like some crazy shit's about it. Like, something's about to go down.
Yeah. And I feel like, you know, in terms of that, I said, first of all, you know, the funny thing about that is I practiced that matchup with EVD from France, actually. Because he also means Cammy as well. And shout outs to him. I think like he helped me in terms of preparing that matchup in the first place. And then, but to answer your question, I just say, like, you know, it feels pretty good in terms of winning with him. And you know, you just keep, if you lose, I mean, it's no hard feelings. I mean, I ain't gonna lie. I mean, I get blown up so much to a point. I mean, yeah, there was a time that I did broke my stick. I ain't gonna lie about that. I was pretty upset. I was more upset about myself because I know what I was supposed to do, but at the end of the day, I never really make excuses for myself in terms of things. I take it straight up and then be like, you know what? I mean, the world turns, and I just got to do better, and that's basically what it is. So I just get pretty good joy out of it, though. Let's see. I said, oh, James Walton. Yeah, I know he got some good questions. So he's like, one of his questions is, do you think people who succeed with low tier characters are better players than those who use top tier? To answer that question, no. I feel like everybody's pretty much good with who they play, really. It's just that there's people who would underestimate in terms of those who play a lower tier character. But in ST is one of those volatile games that regardless of you using top tier, you can still lose to a low tier, especially those who really puts the time into really learning the character and learning how to punish the character in terms of things. I mean, I feel like in terms of that, you can't really underestimate folks with that. So I would say like not really they're better than top tier, but I can say like you don't underestimate those who use low tiers, because you can get pretty much blown up with those who does. So I mean, there's a lot of low tier there's low tier specialists around, and they can tell you a thing or two about how to beat top tier and everything like that. So that's just me with that. And then this is some crazy question he asked. He's like, let's say you eliminated someone in a tournament, you notice they're trying to hold back tears. How would you react? I don't know. I have never seen a person who hold back tears. How I react, I'll just react surprised, I think. I mean, I'll be like, don't worry about it. I mean, it happens to the best of us. And each time when you lose, like I told everybody else, each time when you lose, it's always a learning experience of what you know. And then at the same time, if you're at a tournament, don't be afraid to ask questions upon. You can ask them, what have you done wrong? Or what do you think I should do better against you, and everything like that. Like nowadays, it's like everybody's more open to more strategies. Everybody's to give away strategies in terms of what you can do against me, or what I would do against me, or what you should do, and everything like that. It's just like, it's out there. Like, don't be afraid to ask any top player that you know. Don't be afraid to ask him, hey, what am I supposed to do in this situation, or what do I do in this matchup? Like, it's everybody is like an open book. It's like, I mean, before then, it was kind of hard just kind of like getting in contact with folks to ask people what they're supposed to do, because there was a lot of stuff that was hidden. Now we're at a point that we're talking with some of the Japanese. There's Discord that's out there. I mean, hell, there's streaming. There's like, I mean, damn, I did Super Turbo Saturdays, and then also Eugene and Tanya did something pretty much almost the same thing with Arcadium. And it's like, it's all the information is just literally out there in terms of what you want to know or what you should do. And okay, this is another crazy question. Should hitbox controllers be allowed in tournament? If yes, would you use one yourself? Okay, I would say hitbox is like a keyboard. Should it be allowed in tournaments? I mean, it's not my say, because I don't see ST even running remotely in close to having a hitbox on a cabinet. So I don't even know how that happens. I mean, the only time I saw someone use a hitbox for ST was actually 2017 Canada Cup. Shout outs to Atari. You remember those cabs he had with the DAM converters that was on it? So someone did use hitbox on it. I mean, did he win? No, but I mean, it was pretty cool to see that the amount of technology that you could put into a cabinet in terms of, converting it to how you want to use it into that. But it's pretty cool. But if it should be allowed in tournament, I mean, Some say yay, some say no. Me, I don't know. I don't really have an answer to that.
As long as it's not that broken shit where you can charge Sonic Boom and Flash Kick at the same time. Like,
the Gafgar box that Daigo had.
Yeah, as long as it's not that type of bullshit. Yeah, then I think it's fine. But if you really want to enjoy the game, you got to play it like straight up on a cab. Like,
yeah,
you know what I mean. Like what 99% of the best players in the world are using. Like it. Don't be that 1% oddity, because then you're going to travel somewhere in the world to play that 99%, and you're not going to be able to play at all.
Absolutely.
I mean?
Absolutely. Let's see. Any of these, like, in your opinion, what's the effective way to expand the SD community? I mean, personally, I guess the best way to expand is just like, tell your friends if you wanna, if they want to be interested to play, if they really want to be interested to play, you be that doorway for them in terms of what they want to learn. You can tell them basically what they want to learn or what they should know and everything like that. I mean, just be that doorway. That's all I can say. So that's pretty much the way I can say you can expand. Let's see. Sprite Mix asks how long you had the Fro. So basically, the Fro, I had this for over pretty much 3 years now. 3 years going on at this point. And there's a lot of work taking care of it. And I know I'm surprised somebody really asks about how to maintain it, but I'm gonna just tell it anyway.
Y'all gotta spend channel points for that shit.
Yeah, y'all gotta spend channel points to know about that. Just letting you know that. I can't do, it's a long process. I'm gonna say this, it's an hour process to maintain it. I'm gonna just let you know, it's an hour process. But the answer to this question is 3 years. Let's see. Super V asks, what inspired you to run tourneys? Basically, touching back what I said earlier, basically, it all started as a joke between myself and Riz. It all started as a joke. But in terms of running tournaments effectively, I kind of know how to run it. It's just, I just said, hey, let's just do this. And then next thing you know, now we're just like kind of just effectively running things. Me and Riz running multiple tournaments in terms of either 2x in the mirror or 2x in the flesh. And then, there was other tournaments that we ran. We ran hyper fighting tournaments that had over 90 something people in it. So, I mean, at this point now, it's kind of incredible to just do. I'm like, yeah, I can see myself as a tournament runner. I'm like, I can totally do some things like that. So, and he's like, if you could describe Zoo in one word, what would you use? Strange. That's the word I use for Zoolander. Strange. Lovable, but strange. Very strange. Like, he's just, I don't know. It's like, when you look at him, it's like, well, this is a wholesome person. Wholesome. Use wholesome very figuratively. So I'm like, well, I mean, but when you talk with them, it's like, all I know is just expect no filter. That's all I'm gonna just say. Just expect no filter. I think there's two more actually. Yeah, Reno asks, do you use grappler characters in every game? So before I played ST, when I was playing Street Fighter 4, that game was the only game that I did not use Zangief in. I used actually that time I made Gouken at the time, and if people don't know who Gouken is, he was basically the practitioner of pretty much what Ryu and Ken is at this point. He was basically their teacher. So I made him at the time. And he said, Coke or Pepsi, Dr. Pepper or Mr. Pibb. Okay, so Coke or Pepsi, I'd probably say Coke, only because Coke had more flavors than Pepsi did. And Dr. Pepper or Mr. Pibb, that's pretty easy. It's Dr. Pepper.
Yeah, all the way. That was a setup.
All the way. And he did want one more. He's like, what era of the WWE or WCW you think was the greatest? Personally, I think the Attitude Era was the greatest, only because there was more along the line of personalities at the time. for WWE and WCW anytime before the Vince Russo saga. And he probably knows exactly what I'm talking about with that one. So with that part, I just said, yeah, anytime before the Vince Russo saga was very, very good. But yeah, Super B did have one more time. He's like, do you think smack talk between players? What do you think of smack talk between players? Do you think it helps or hurts the S-Team scene? And do you think we need more rivalries or money matches in the scene? So I would say, in terms of smack talk, I say, like, the occasional smack talk, it's pretty cool to have. Like, I think it's like one of those things that, it would, not like, I would probably say, like, yeah, elevate. It kind of goes hand in hand in terms of smack talk, because then again, it'd be like, it develop a rivalry, develop a friendly rivalry. Because then again, it'll be like, yeah, you'll need more of that. But in terms of rivalries, I definitely think there should be more. That's for sure. I think there should be more, only because I think it would make it pretty more interesting. Like, everybody can still, for me, I'm like pretty neutral about things. Like, everybody can be pretty much buddy-buddy in terms of stuff. But rivalry is what makes, fighting games pretty competitively, pretty competitive in terms of stuff. And I feel like, if we had more rivalry in terms of things, I feel like everything would have been pretty more hype at this point. That's what I think. And in terms of money matches, I think money matches would be pretty cool. I'm pretty sure there's people who might not like, put up money or anything like that, but they could do like food matches or so. I mean,
yeah, like having something on the line versus nothing makes it more exciting, I guess.
Yeah, exactly.
Something like that.
I mean, there was at Canada Cup. I mean, I had the 1 to 5 pizza match against Eugene, and I was pretty, and I lost. I lost because I dropped the super. So yeah, it was close, but it was close. But when he took the last slice of pizza and ate it in front of me, I'm not gonna lie, I wanted to smack it out of his hands so badly. So
typical Eugene, man.
Yeah.
What a jerk.
Yeah, what a jerk! But it was fun. We were both lit. We were both lit as fuck that day, and we were just like playing. he was like, man, we never thought that 1 to 5 pizza, 1 to 5 for the last slice of pizza was so thick. We were smack talking each other. I was just telling him, I'm like, yo, I'm about to take. I told him I was gonna take this pizza from you. He's like, nah, man. He's like, I'm pretty hungry at this point, so. He's like, I'm gonna take this pizza. I'm like, I'm gonna eat this pizza, and when I win, I'm eating it in front of you, and you ain't gonna do shit about it. That's what he said. And
wow.
obviously, I did not do shit about it. I had to hold that colossal L about that.
And that's your El Presidente, your community ambassador. That guy.
Yeah, that guy. Yeah, that guy. Yeah.
Oh
yeah,
shit,
man. But. That's pretty much all the questions there, and I greatly appreciate these questions, though.
Yeah, damn, we're like almost 3 hours in, so probably time to wrap this joint up. So, firstly, I want to say, obviously, thanks for doing this, and also just a little bit rusty. At one point, I was recording a lot more of these, and now I'm, it's like, oh shit, kind of forgot how to do this. It's been a little bit, but you definitely made it easy for me. It's just easy to have conversation with you. So I appreciate, obviously, this year, just like, being a partner in crime. And yeah, we got to do a couple of things for ST, and it was fun. Yeah, if you have any shout outs that you want to give, and then for once, I want someone else to actually do the closing comment. So I'm going to have you, do the closeout for Super Lore Boys bonus stage episode.
Oh man, oh snap! Oh, I feel so honored about that. I greatly appreciate that. So I would say, in terms of shout outs, first of all, shout outs to everybody in the first place. Shout outs to everyone in the scene in the first place. My advice to everybody, just keep working at it, do the best you can do, be the best you can be. And just don't let anybody default in terms of like get at you upon what you want to do. But main shout outs is definitely you, bro. I mean, like I said, partner in crime, man. We still doing it, and we still gonna do it at this point. Shout outs to Damn Die, like the main suspects: Damn Die, Josh, Crossed, Tech Monkey, Green Tea, ETNG, Dominican 2X, Mindplex Boys, Mr. Carabano, the Blaze Donuts. Shout outs to pretty much the the fight case scene, GTPL, the Europe scene. Shout out to X Gamers. Can't forget about him. He's like the only best player out there in his country at this point.
Pretty much.
Yeah. Shout outs to him. Shout outs to Makiri. Shout outs to Shigatsu, Kusamando, TMF. I mean, this list goes on, but I can just say, shout outs to everybody. First of all, without them, without them, there's no me. And I feel like I owe each and everybody a great gratitude for being what I am today in terms of stuff, in terms of how I am, and in terms of me, I'm pretty much, everybody said, I'm a pretty unique type of person, and how I play Geef is pretty unique in the first place. So I pretty much am honored in terms of that, and I'm happy about it. But I was like, that's shout outs to everybody, and I greatly appreciate it, though. I really greatly appreciate it. But once again, thank you, bro, for giving me the time to explain, the Megaman X story. And
plenty more stories to come. We'll
definitely
have you back on.
Absolutely, there's plenty more stories to come, obviously, and I feel like, yeah, man, there's more towards everything. There's more stories that I have to tell, but fit it all in 3 hours. It can't be done.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's who I got to shout out to, and I greatly appreciate everybody tuning in to the bonus stage of SLB. You might be wondering, which stage is this? For me, this is the brick stage. If you remember the brick stage,
On the Genesis.
And the Genesis, yeah, this is the brick stage instead of the barrel stage. I mean, everybody likes the flaming barrel stage. I think that one's pretty cool, though. But yeah, I feel like, yeah, guys, I tell you, thank you all for tuning in to the SLB, this episode of SLB. Shout outs to Riz, and shout outs to Azroix for the artwork. Shout outs to Makiri for the great, these bumping tunes. Everybody go to that man's Spotify and show that man some love, man, because his tunes is lit as fuck, I'm telling you. And then also shout outs to Atari and his band. I jokingly said, his band is Rich Tallmans and the Bills.
That's a good one.
Rich Tallman and the Bills. So yeah, give a shout out to Rich Tallman and the Bills. And obviously, please, in terms of how you can follow us, I mean, you got this man's Twitter at SuperLoreBoys. That's his Twitter. His Twitch, twitch.tv/Riz1 with the 0. And then how to follow me at White Castle Guy. And my Twitch is twitch.tv/RockmanExe. Basically, we both stream the same thing. That's basically what it is. So, hey, but like I said, folks, thank you all for tuning in to this episode of SLB. This is me. This is Megaman and my partner in crime, Riz. And we out here. We out of here, bruh.
All right, guys. Happy New Year, and take it easy. See you later.
Yep. See you later. Happy New Year, everyone.